I gotta admit that song kind of makes me rock out a little bit at the start of every show, and it plays that 30 seconds. I'm like, okay, I start to get feel a little groove a little bit. All right, welcome to MazzaMedia. It's February 15th, 2026. We are live on YouTube today. We are doing a Kelsey Fitzsimmons fundraiser once again. We're going to continue to do this as much as we possibly can to raise as much money for Kelsey as she heads into trial here, which is projected for March 23rd. I believe it's March 9th. There's an upcoming date where there will basically be a trial readiness hearing. But right now, we do have a goal for today. Our goal is going to be roughly $1,200 today is the goal, minimum goal. So Kelsey Fitzsimmons fundraiser, her GiveSendGo, is at $73,806, which means we're about $196 away from helping Kelsey hit the hitting the $74,000 mark, and then we are about another $1,000 away after that from hitting the $75,000 mark. So there you see it, $1,196 away from $75,000, and that's our goal today. So we don't usually have a set goal, but we're gonna try to hit that 75,000. But first, we're gonna try to hit the 74,000. We're gonna do this in tiers here as we go through today's show. Now, fundraisers typically work the same way. A lot of you guys have been here. If you're new to this, welcome to the show and good afternoon to you. So the way it works is that there's a fundraiser GiveSendGo. It's pinned at the top of the chat. It's also in the description. What you do is all donations made during the show will be counted, essentially, is how we're going to work this thing today. And I'll give updates throughout the show, and we'll see how far we can get today. It should be good. We got many guests planning on joining us today. One of them is backstage, and then I'm just checking to make sure everybody else is on time. Looks like everybody is just getting me a late message here that they're going to be here in just a short while. So let's we'll get that started. Let's just talk about a few of the links in the description. The GiveSendGo link is in the description. You can write to Kelsey by writing to her at P.O. Box 16 in Reading, Mass. 01867. So there's information on how to write to Kelsey. There's also the Facebook group link, which just hit 8.2 thousand followers recently. There's the Amazon wish list. I admit I have not checked the wish list for Giftful and Amazon in a bit. If those links are outdated, just let me know. I'll try to my best to update them during the show. Probably should have checked them before the show. My apologies, but the Amazon link there is there. The Giftful link is there. And then North Shore Nacho Night is tomorrow night at JJ Grimsby's and Company Restaurant and Pub in Stoneham, Massachusetts. That's on the North Shore because that's why they call it the North Shore Nacho Night. They wouldn't hold it in the South Shore if it was North Shore Nacho Night. They got to make sure it works. So it's North Shore Nacho Night tomorrow night, 6 p.m., JJ Grimsby and Company Restaurant and Pub. They'll be holding an event tomorrow that will be meant to raise money for Kelsey Fitzsimmons. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, my first guest comes from us from across the pond over in another time zone. He's a baker. He is Broken Baker, and he is with us today. Broken Baker, my man, what's going on?
Nothing much. And can I start out? I got this sweet hat from J7. She has a birthday today, so we should wish her a happy birthday as well.
Excellent.
And I know you are into sports ball, and we start out by denouncing the Canadians. The female curling team cheated as well.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I know there was some issues with one of the guys finger pointing. You get like an extra fingertip on the whatever the curling thing is there that whatever.
Yeah, and she did the same. It's just it's an amazing sport when you watch it because you're thinking, what's going on? And they are so accurate. It's an amazing sport.
Yeah, it's very entertaining to watch. It's amazing. You know, I always think to myself how sports have their origin, and it's kind of like a little bit like bowling in a little bit of a manner, where it's like you get it, but then it's also like golf where you got to hit it. It's almost like you're putting in a sense at the same time. So it's a unique sport. And then also you're like sweeping as well. So you're kind of sweeping. So you're kind of almost doing some in-home cleaning as well.
Yeah, it's a very sexist sport. Hey, you ladies, sweep the floor. That's no, but it's the thing is, we had a really good team back in, I think, the Barcelona Olympics and stuff like that. So it kind of became, oh, we are finally good at something in Winter Olympics because we're not a big Winter Olympics sport.
Yeah.
Just watching it, and I like it when it takes skill because, yeah, everything takes skill, but running down a hill or flying off a mountain, I like all of that skeleton and stuff like that where it's you need so much precision, and that's why I love watching sports like that. And I don't understand hockey, but we're up 3-1, so that must be good.
That's good to hear. Yeah, it's good. 3 goals to 1 goal. You can't beat that. I like bobsledding a lot. This little solo slide thing they do. Those are some of my favorites. I like the snowboarding and the half pipe. I was watching a little bit of that last night. These guys are doing twists and twirls, and you think they're just going to fall and break their necks, but they never do, thankfully. But it's great to watch that too.
Yeah, I need to shut my big mouth. Oh my.
Oh
my.
Uh-oh. Hopefully she's joking. All right. Well, that's all right. Everybody has their opinions.
Speed skating. I don't know if you ever watched that.
Not much.
That's insane.
Much. It is. It's intense. Yeah. That's probably why I don't watch it all that much, because it's too intense. It's just a lot of all these people are close together and they're just skating 100 miles an hour and they're winding corners, and it's pretty intense stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of wipeouts this year where they just and I'm thinking they are kind of like that really, really bad accident in hockey a couple of years ago. Imagine one, because it's just 6 inches of very sharp steel going across a field where you are coming at, I don't know, 40 miles an hour. That can make a lot of damage to you.
Right. Oh, there's no question about that at all. We're already getting donations in right now. We already got $45 in so far. This is great news. We're moving quickly here. This is great. And today's first goal is going to be $74,000 mark on the GiveSendGo. The second goal, it's going to be our primary goal today, is going to be $75,000. We're hoping to hit that today, which will be good. So it was a big week, and we got Lauren Katie's going to be joining us, crime scene investigator. Lori Mullen from Mullen Law is going to be joining us today, and then Britt Happens will be joining us. Brother Counsel may or may not be able to make it today. And I think Claudia King may or may not. I'm not sure if she was confirmed yet. I know that Lauren Katie was working on that. Ruby C, how you doing? So we'll see what we can do for guests today. But I'm telling you right now, it was a busy week. I know that you had covered a lot of what went on with the recusal motion, which was shocking to see how that came back so quickly as moot. And then some information came out to suggest that, guess what? It's moot because Kathleen McCarthy Neiman is no longer the judge. I definitely celebrated. I didn't do any cartwheels because I really can't do cartwheels anymore, but I was happy to say the least.
I saw it as a very easy escape. That we have a really, really bad case. I have a mod who is a trained lawyer or went to law school. And she was like, "Oh, a judge doing ex parte? That is very, very no." And then they came back like a day later, said, "No, she's off the case." Yeah, but she was also off the case the other hearings, and then she went in and did those hearings. So, of course, you will do an investigation. No, it's moot. There's no reason to look into any of her mistakes because she's not going to be there for the next one. It's good she's not going to be there. But that's a problem that a judge would say, I'm going to go to the parole officer and then I'm going to report him because he's not doing what I want. That's taking on judge, jury, and executioner in the same role. Yeah,
that's what it just drives me insane about this whole thing is what this judge did. I'm not sure I know you and I both did a show, I think almost at the same time Monday. And I when I read that recusal motion, I had not read it before. I'd seen some notes, some highlights of it, and I was literally, as I was reading it, that was literally my actual reaction to it all. As we welcome Lauren Katie to the show, that was literally my live reaction to it all, was the fact that she was having these dealings with January, And we all remember January when he was in the courtroom on the 11th was really straight up. He was giving honest answers. He was vouching for Kelsey in a fair and impartial way. And this judge was just absolutely uncommonly out of character for a judge, I would say, beyond the point of whether you love her or hate her. She was just acting completely off. And it makes so much more sense now looking back at there was something that was leading up to it. Your thoughts on that, Broken Becky?
Well, and that puts it in contrast to the rulings, and when they wanted to have a ruling and said no, she acted perfectly fine. There was nothing in her demeanor. She was a little bee in that hearing, and she was highly emotional, and that's why I when people ask me, are you going to cover the sentencing hearings? I said no, because feelings have nothing to do with the law. I don't like it when you have victim impact statements and all of that, because it's not the law. The law is supposed to be blind, and you don't sit there. And she was emotionally invested in a case, and a judge should never be. But we saw it with Judge Bev. It seems to be a Massachusetts problem.
That's what I mean. It seems like that's quite. We got our donations are already up to $165. Thank you guys so much. We're about 12 minutes into the show, and some big donations are rolling in very quickly here. She is at $73,971 right now. We're literally $29 away from getting Kelsey to $74,000, which is our first goal of today's fundraiser, with $75,000 being the big goal for today's fundraiser. And I want to thank everybody. Continue to spread awareness of this fundraiser. And I would post the link too, if you guys could, to your social medias. I'm about to do that myself. Broken Baker, I just want to transition to Lauren Katie, a private investigator here that's joining us. She has been Common Sense Investigator is her channel on YouTube. She has been me and her have done a lot of fundraisers where she's been on mine, I've been on hers. I just want to welcome you back, Lauren. And it was a big week, to say the least. And I know you're not someone that's quiet about your opinions when it comes to this case. And I know this was a big week for you as well, as a supporter of Kelsey.
Yes. Hey, Mazza. Hey, Baker. It's great to be with you again. Yeah, this was a huge week. And, I think this makes all of us seem very heard, because we knew something was off with that judge. We knew something wasn't right. It's far too personal. And then what do we see? We see things in writing as to what she's doing that no one has heard of, doing kind of in secret, right? And then why she was so nasty to Officer January in the courtroom. It all made sense then. She wanted to shut him up. I can only imagine how nervous she was. Like, was he going to say something in front of her in open court that everyone would hear? So it all makes so much more sense now. And then you have to ask yourself, why? Why is she willing to risk her entire career over this case? What's the pull there? What is there for her? Why?
It makes no sense. And that's, and Bradel on his motion to recuse had cited Noonan and the name McCarthy and questioned the affiliation. Now, I don't know, it was also, I can't remember who I had this conversation with. I can't remember if it was privately or publicly, but someone said to me, if Bradel's saying it, they may or may not have some sufficient information to back that up or make that suggestion. Now, it could have also just been there for, an added piece of that motion, because there's a lot of questions that need to be asked. But see, when I see a judge doing what she did, it makes me ask myself, like Bradel was doing, and Courtney Healy and others that have been on our defense team are, why is there more to this than there appears? Why is this judge, in my opinion, should be absolutely removed from the bench, not only removed from the case, but removed from the bench. Yeah. As a result of this shocking behavior, which is unbecoming of a judge. And Lou Lamassou says Bradel never would have asked the question if he did not know the answer. But it's just, if there's an affiliation there, which is what brings us back to what happened in the Karen Reed case with Michael Proctor. He wasn't only at a wedding, he was a part of the wedding party, with the McAlberts, he knew those people. And whether or not Noonan and this judge have any affiliation, whether confirmed or unconfirmed, it's certainly something worth asking questions about, because if they are somehow affiliated, that would explain a lot about this judge's behavior, which was borderline, not even borderline, absolutely ruthless, soulless, evil, that Kelsey ever went back to jail like she did on the 11th. And if that's all true, if there was in fact an affiliation, which is unconfirmed at this time, but if there was, that explains a lot. And that's also another scary moment in the state of Massachusetts, where politics, and I don't mean politics as in holding office, I mean politics as in associations, people doing favors for each other, are literally bending and breaking the law to benefit one another once again, which is why we keep doing these fundraisers, which is why we keep pushing these stories, because these stories need to have air and oxygen constantly put into them, which is why we do these fundraisers every so often, to continue to amplify this to the best of our abilities. Because this is a story, and I've said this before, and before I yield back to Broken Baker for comment, I just want to get this out of my system. This is a part of what Karen Reed went through. It's a different form, it's a different shade, but we all said during the Karen Reed trial, Karen Reed, anybody can be Karen Reed. Kelsey Fitzsimmons is another Karen Reed. It's a different scenario. And whether or not this McCarthy thing is a nothing burger or it's something very valid, there's no question that the powers that be put Kelsey Fitzsimmons in the hardest position possible that she's having to crawl out of, and she's crawling out of it, and she's succeeding. She's starting to get those victories. So, Broken Baker, I'll defer to you for comments, sir.
Well, it's again, and it's not just these two women who has seen this. This is, again, when I started watching this, again, I'm just a true crime out of Denmark who saw a picture of an arm. That's where I started. And then I got to learn all the backstories, the First Amendment free zone, the you can't be a journalist in Massachusetts zone, the two-tier justice system, how if you are in McAlbert, we just saw the transcripts that they apparently had been after the Kolikitas family and done exactly the same that they are getting to sue someone over witness intimidation, but they did exactly the same thing. This is why I have been really going after the, and congratulations, 74,000. Congratulations. You are doing great work, Mazza, as always.
Thank you.
But this is the big problem in Massachusetts. There is not the law. There is laws, and it depends on who have you gone to school with, who have you helped into office, and who have you paid the way for. And as I said earlier, the law is supposed to be blind. Lady Justice has a veil over her eyes, because it doesn't matter if you are a reoccurring drug offender who comes back or you are the governor. Everyone should be treated equally. And we have seen in just 3 years of Massachusetts, I've seen more corruption than I think I've seen in any other. Maybe Atlanta is as bad as Massachusetts, but other than that, I don't see. How refreshing was it to see Judge A down in Virginia this week, where the state gave a lady a very easy plea deal, and she said, "Nope, you're getting the maximum I can give you," and that's a good judge, because she looks at the facts. Hearing that judge try and moan on the stand because. And we didn't get it back then, but just because a parole officer said, no, she's done whatever she could do. Yeah, I'm not okay with that. And again, if Kelsey will end up being found guilty, and there's always that possibility, he will get roughly the same amount of punishment that Karen Reed got, a probation. She has spent months in prison, and worst of all, and this is the big injustice, months without her son. And to me, that's why this case is important. Again, the justice system is screwed, but a mom without her son, and why do they fight so hard to keep him from the grandparents? That's to me is another. We need some boots on the ground to go out and figure out how are they getting this special treatment, because we know you need something to get special treatment in Massachusetts, and that family must have some connections as well.
That's what I mean. That's a great point, and that's exactly what we saw in the Karen Reed case. And people out there try to pretend and say, "Well, no, you guys are wrong. You're all paranoid, free Karen Reed supporters that were out there supporting her." But yet there were thousands, hundreds of people in pink shirts during the verdict, and a lot of people believed in that. And I think that, you know, for me, like what I want to do right now is I really want to raise the, not only, like I've been focused on raising money for Kelsey for the longest time, but really what I want to do now is I want to get more and more people awoken to this story that I think needs a lot more attention right now. And while it is gaining a lot of attention, this story needs to start going viral here, especially in the state. And this is why I think we all need to just continue to up the ante. You know, we had someone comment, you know, before this show that no one cares about the story, which is wrong. But at the same time, you know, I do say that I want to continue to amplify this story, which is spending a lot of my time doing shows about this and rooting for other people. Microdots is finally, and I'm so thankful for this because, you know, let me put this between me and him. He was the one that encouraged me to start going live doing shows during the Karen Reed case. And I was the one recently, like, come on. He was like, come on, go live, talk about Karen, Maz. And now I'm like, Richie, come on, do the Microdots program on Kelsey. Come on. Finally, he announces it this week. And I was ecstatic because I've been dying for a Kelsey Fitzsimmons Microdots video, because this is, the Microdots videos are so well done. But I think, you know, because what I've wanted to do for a long time myself is a show where I can break down a timeline like Brandy Churchwell did. I just don't have the time to do it, which is unfortunate. I just don't have the time to sit down, put stuff together. Like even when I do a show, it's just so tough to find the time to do a show for me. And it's like I'm just praying every day, like, you know, God, can we just get more and more people involved that can do these pieces. When I saw Richie come in, I was like, yes. I'm like, yeah, because this is, once he does one video on this, he has such a big reach. And he has such a big following. And once people start to watch that video, they're going to get a nice full spectrum telling. Because, I mean, if anybody's new to this, it's very tough to learn the stuff in the middle of it and say, okay, well, it's the 11th fundraiser Maz is doing. Why did he do 10 before that? What's going on? Where do I start? But the Microdots videos are extremely exceptional, not only because they're well made, but they tell you the full story. They give you the whole picture, start to finish, and it's a nice orientation for new people, which is why I'm so ecstatic that he's going to jump in on this, because he's been extremely effective. You know, his following is immense. His videos, I mean, the man deserves awards for it. And then if he's going to do a Kelsey one, this is fantastic, because this is going to give a lot of amplification to the story that this story needs. And I say this with no ego. I know for myself, there's only so much I can do for Kelsey. There's only so much awareness I can raise. There's only so much we can all do. And the more people, you know, the more people that can be involved, the better. The more Microdots, whomever. And I know we're in a time where there's a lot of divisiveness online. There's a lot of arguing. People don't like each other. I understand that's all happening, but this is why I always pray every single day that we will all have a focus on the things that matter the most, the people that we're trying to help. And this is not about, you know, who has more views, who has more subscribers. It's not about any of that at all. God damn it all. Okay. God damn it all. It's not about that at all. This is about, and I don't want to start F-bombing here. I'm sorry, folks. I'm getting really passionate about this. This is about helping people. And what we saw with the Karen Reed movement, what was the greatest assembly of people coming together that we have ever seen in this state, maybe even this country. It does not involve a political backing for or against a candidate of a Republican or Democratic party, where hundreds of people united in pink shirts did fundraisers, did standouts, held signs, stood outside the courtroom. And at the end of the day, no matter where we all are, no matter where anybody feels about each other, whether we all like each other, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the big picture is this. Karen Reed had over $1 million raised for herself, and Karen Reed was acquitted. And no matter where we all are, no matter whatever happened, at the end of the day, we got the job done there. And that's what matters the most. And that's why it's so important to unite. How can we push problems aside? How can we mend fences? How can we repair broken bridges? How can we just start to show a unity and a love and a passion to continue to get out there and help people? Because at the end of the day, Kelsey Fitzsimmons at one point, just like Karen Reed, stood alone. She was shot. She was all but left for dead. She was on her own. She had her child taken away. All right. She lost her fiance. She was now going to be arrested. This woman was in a harsh, harsh situation that was about as hard as you could ever imagine. And at the end of the day, when I sit there and I look at what's going on here, this is what keeps me up sometimes at night. And so I just pray that everyone will continue to raise awareness, help out Kelsey, and just do everything you can to get this out there. And I'm so grateful for Microdots that he's getting a video going for her, because I'm telling you, this is going to take this to the next level, which Kelsey Fitzsimmons needs. This is not about individuals. This is about Kelsey Fitzsimmons, the individual, and everybody working for her to help her out. And that's what we need to do. And this is why these fundraisers happen, to raise money for her to take on the corruption that is out there, that is bullying her. And this is not only just her, but anybody else out there as we learn. And I welcome Lori Mullen, who is a attorney out of the Fall River area, family and law attorney, as well as I think you do child law as well.
Well, first of all, hi everyone, and I got a fangirl a little on Broken Baker there. I love you, Baker. My first time meeting you. So I'm a family court practitioner. So basically, I do anything that comes around in the probate and family court in Massachusetts. That includes divorce, custody, the kind of case that Kelsey's involved in family court. It's called a complaint for custody support and parenting time, because Kelsey and Justin weren't married. So that's what we call that. It's not a paternity case. A paternity case would be different. It would be if he wasn't on the birth record. So it's a little bit of a different format. But sure, I do everything in the probate and family court. And I have done civil litigation in the past. I don't do as much of that anymore.
It's awesome. And I'm just so happy to have you. I know you've been a big advocate for Kelsey Fitzsimmons. And additionally, I know you have a lot to say about this past week, because it certainly was not without eventfulness, to say the least.
Absolutely crazy. As a matter of fact, and I think I did tell you this, Mazza, based on what I saw in that brief that Tim Bradle had filed, in Massachusetts, as attorneys, we have an ethical obligation to report those type of things to the CJC, the Commission on Judicial Conduct, and again, I'm not investigating it. It's their job to investigate it. But if I'm to take what Attorney Bradle said in his memorandum, correct as the truth, which I have no reason not to, then that was a clear rule violation by the judge. And I think attorneys have an obligation to report that. We have our own ethical rule that says if we see that kind of misconduct, or we hear of that kind of misconduct, whether or not you're involved in the case, that doesn't matter. If you see that kind of misconduct, then you have to report it. So I did go online and I tried to report it, but of course the online link was broken conveniently that day. But that didn't stop me. I put it in the mail. I sent it over anyway, and I'm hoping that a lot of other people followed suit. Now, maybe they investigated and they find there was no truth to it. I highly doubt that. I mean, that would mean that Probation Officer January is lying. I don't think that's happening. I think that this judge's biggest mistake, one was having ex parte communication with the probation officer, but then having the nerve and the gall. It just shows you how untouchable they think they are. The nerve and the gall to then report him and to file a complaint against him. How obnoxious do you have to be to go and do something like that? And I think that was her undoing right there, and I really do hope that there's consequences beyond just her being removed from the case. I don't care what that opinion said, that it was moot or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that was intentional. She's listed. She's still listed. She's still listed on every single remaining court date that Kelsey has. So to try to make it seem like she's just been removed from the case, and she was removed already, and she was going to be assigned separately, and to make a dig at Attorney Bradel for making it seem as though he's just making it up. Oh, you know, I mean, honestly, it gets me so fired up. I can't even. I just am so beyond. And in the middle of all this, we have Kelsey, you know, just wanting to be able to get back to her child, who's Kelsey's baby, Caden, will turn 1 tomorrow. Tomorrow is Caden's birthday. Yeah. So, and she's missed so many milestones with him. And when you see all the behind the scenes corruption, it's heartbreaking. It's hurtful. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's a nightmare, and it's, you know, even though I feel very confident that she'll see her child one day, there's all this lost time, and it's not like, you know, an adult where there's not much of a difference between someone that's 3 or 4 years apart, but with a baby, with a kid under 18, you know, those are delicate moments where you only have that first year once, you only have the second year once, the third, whatever. You know, this child is aged, you know, since last June. I mean, how many months now? 8 months now, closing in on 9 months. And that's a long time. That's a long time to be missing your child. And, you know, this judge stepping out and declaring Kelsey dangerous the way she did was one of the motions, one of the comments made by Bradel on that recusal as well, to basically say, hey, look, you know, you've already formed an opinion about her, and it's a little bit out of line. Quite honestly.
Well, if I could just clear that one thing up, Mazza, the issue is that Justin went and got a restraining order, and that restraining order applied to Caden and to himself, that Kelsey was to stay away. She never got to the point of having the hearing, because then all of this stuff unfolded, and then she was shot, and she was fighting for her life, and then she was charged. But as part of the bail conditions, completely unnecessary, but as part of the bail conditions, the judge set that she stay away from her son. So she added another level onto that, that she would stay away from Justin and her son, who were really not a part of that case. This case is between her and Officer McCarthy Noonan. Justin and the child were not a part of the criminal charges at all. So for the judge to go to that extra level, what that's done is that's now prevented Kelsey's family court attorney from being able to go in and even go forward on the restraining order, and perhaps fashion some kind of a modification on that restraining order to even allow supervised visits, because she can't visit her son because the bail condition says she cannot.
Yeah, and talking about that, I find it so funny that, you know, McCarthy Naaman wanted to say that Kelsey and her attorney Bradel were being manipulative. She mentioned that multiple times when, hey, Pot, this is Kettle. You, ma'am, you are the one who was being manipulative, going to have ex parte communications outside of your office. It is so funny. Sometimes people, the ones that are throwing these accusations are the ones doing them behind closed doors. And as we found out, that's exactly what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go right ahead.
No, but again, it goes back to this overreach that we see so much in Massachusetts, that these judges are kings and queens, and they shouldn't be. Again, why are you self-inserting yourself and saying, well, she's too dangerous for kids? Because even in the case or the stay away order for Justin, it's him that she's dangerous to, according to him, with that weird bachelor party thing where she was so dangerous to him, and the kid is not in there, and to me it's just, again, isn't there a local online journalist who can go out there and figure out what does that family have that they can sway the system this way? I know they work for some kind of organization, but they must have some tremendous political power that they can get this in there, because I don't know if it's standard that you can just spread it out and enhance the restraining orders in this way, but it seems so so much overreach again from this judge. And I'm sorry, she was. I know we're not allowed to say it about women, but she was very emotional. She wasn't like a judge should be, calm, to the book, to the letter. She was acting on emotions. Mm-hmm. And now when we hear she was already at January's office the day before, emotional, yelling at him because he didn't want to give her what she wanted. That's not justice. And for them then to say, well, she's not on the case anymore, so it's no problem. That's not how the law works.
And what about the cases that she will be on?
Yeah.
Then they have an issue because this conduct still happened. It doesn't erase what she did. So that's why I really hope that the citizens there get involved. They have a right to have an answer and to have explanation as to why a judge, completely did something so improper that she could lose her job for. This is not any kind of mild little accusations. These are very serious, and the citizens up there deserve to know, not just say, well, you got what you wanted, she's off of the case because of a scheduling, miss whatever. No, that's not good enough.
And let's not forget, the result of all of that was she sent Kelsey back to jail. This was not just some like minor little thing that we can overlook. 103 days Kelsey spent in jail after that hearing. 103 days. Can you imagine that? After all she had been through, being shot, being separated from her child, and because somebody's having a hissy fit about something and going, it's absurd to think. There were real consequences for that behavior.
And being threatened in prison as well.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
And she's still doing, she's out now, but she still has those consequences because she's now not able to even put in for like supervised visits, like you said, Lori, because of what this judge did. There is some major problems, and I will go back to it being said, she's got one hell of a civil suit, and she's going to have it against multiple people. And the more things that keep coming out show the corruption and the bias that we're up against from day one.
Definitely.
It just bothers me again with this, and I'm happy this judge got removed because they tried to get Judge Beverly Cannoni to recuse herself in the Karen Reed case, and that didn't happen. So we're very blessed to see that this has happened here because this is a serious matter. Ex parte communications, like what happened there, is very serious, and a judge that, in my opinion, was obviously, and it's like anything. And I said this about the Karen Reed case, and I'll say about this. It was bad enough that Karen was accused of murder. Then when she got to the trials, the hearings, all that stuff, she then had to battle a judge, which honestly was a harder fight to fight. Her attorneys would have to get into it with the judge. She'd disrespect Yannetti and Alessi Jackson, talk down to Eliza Little, in my opinion, as well, very significantly. And then you see Bradel, that, there's people that are saying, oh, Bradel should have done this and should have done that about Kelsey. No, because he had filed a Supreme Court complaint and he couldn't retract that, because if he needed to do it again, he wouldn't have been able to do that if he had retracted it. So people were criticizing him for that, saying, oh, Kelsey could have got out of jail sooner but the fact was Bradel did everything he could, the best he could. He played all the hands as correctly as he could, given the set of circumstances start to finish. Not only that, they had some additional, to the best of my knowledge, arguments that they were making about that judge as well, because this judge, and I said this about Judge Beverly Cannoni, and I'll say it about Judge Kathleen McCarthy-Naiman, the judge was once again the biggest problem here, because as bad as it was that RO was served, she lost her child, she was shot, there was a criminal matter, obviously a charge against her, there. Then on top of all of it, you have a judge that just wants to send her back to jail back in September just because they called an emergency hearing to basically say, guess what? Kelsey's having some physical difficulty doing this test. Oh, well, let's just send her back to jail then. Why would a judge ever make that particular decision? And I would be curious to know if 1,000 other judges, regardless of state, in the United States were overseeing that, would have made that same exact decision. And that's what really bothers me quite a bit about all of this. Welcome back, Brett. About all this is that this judge just said, off with her head, is basically what she did. Off with her head. I think it's Alice in Wonderland I'm referencing. Off with her head, send her back to jail, throw her in a van, haul her across the state. That was her decision when they came in. That was that for me because I had heard about this story, but I was starting to just follow it right around the time she got out. And people were coming to me saying, Mazza, you got to look into this. You got to start talking about this. So I started to look into it. And it was a couple days later where she went back, and I said, oh, here we go. I have a feeling I'm going to have to start covering this story now, because this is wild stuff. This is the exact stuff that gets me fired up. Britt, I'll let you jump in here. Welcome to the show from Florida. We got at least Florida represented twice here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lauren and I actually don't live too far from each other.
That's cool.
Well, thanks again for having me back. I'm so excited for the prospect of Kelsey having possibly a more impartial judge on the bench. So, hopefully we see a little more fair treatment. And then Jackal 19982, just to answer your question in the chat, Kelsey right now was initially charged for attempted murder, but the grand jury came back with no indictment for that. They said that the prosecution did not have enough evidence, enough probable cause for that indictment. So she is only facing assault with a deadly weapon.
Which is incredible, because that is a one-sided hearing.
Yes.
Only the prosecution puts on their case before the grand jury, and the grand jury still didn't indict on the attempted murder.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to get an indictment. It's unbelievable. A lot of the time, the defense doesn't even know that a grand jury is happening, much less being present for it. And yeah, I mean, that just shows the weakness of the evidence against her. It shows the one-sidedness. And I think that any actual jury is going to see through that a good bit when we get to a real trial.
But that's the third grand jury that hasn't gone along with what Massachusetts wants. Karen Reed, they didn't want to bump up her charges. They didn't want to bring a case against her and Aiden for conspiracy, and now they're bumping this as well. And again, you can indict a ham sandwich. You can't serve it for experts after they have given testimony and laugh at a hearing, but you can indict a ham sandwich, and they can't get these to stick. And that shows you that they're just going in there and say, well, we don't have anything. Could you please just sign this piece of paper? No. And thank God for the grand jurors doing their job.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm so glad they're taking their part in this seriously. It shows that they are truly weighing the evidence and not just going with emotion, right? It can be very easy to be emotionally provoked by one side or the other as a juror. And I mean, we saw that recently. Lauren, I know you were watching this trial in Georgia.
I just got back from it. Yeah, I was in the courtroom.
You were? You went? Oh my gosh. You've got to talk to me about that in private. But there was a lot of, invoking of emotion in that case. And I feel that we're seeing that here too. I feel that we are seeing Noonan and, other purported witnesses and victims in Kelsey's case, giving a very one-sided argument like Justin, and hoping to get some kind of sympathy from either a judge or a jury, and getting their way that way. And so hopefully we're going to see a level-headed jury who is not so easily swayed like that.
Yeah, and it's very encouraging, because the grand jury obviously didn't believe Noonan, because obviously Noonan would have had to have testified in that grand jury. They didn't believe him. So again, some of the same things we're picking out just from the papers and things not matching and adding up and making sense, the grand jury obviously agreed upon when they didn't come back with that indictment.
And again, that's another thing about Massachusetts, the way you write your laws, because just brandishing is an assault. No matter what your intent is, brandishing is an automatic assault. If we go by her story, which is heartbreaking, a young mother wanting to do what she said that turns into, no, it's an assault, because she was, that shows you the rules are just, because they are so wide, you can just fit everything into them. And that's another problem Massachusetts have. When I see, again, I'm not a legal, I just done jury duty for 16 years now. So I've seen quite a few cases, and you're sitting there and thinking, where do you put your finger on any of this? Because you have a law that's that wide, but it should be very specific, saying, okay, this action is illegal. This action is illegal. In this, it's just, as long as you just have a pew, you're making an assault. And that's overly broad, in my opinion.
I'm with you, Baker. I feel that assault should require contact of some kind, right?
Or the intent to harm the person in front of you.
Yeah. Right. Maybe.
Well, if you slap yourself in the face, which would be the assaulting with a hand, unarmed, equivalent of putting a firearm to your own head, that would not be assaulting somebody else, to Britt's point, right? So Britt is making a great point here, because if I slap my own face, that's not assaulting somebody else. That's just, so if she puts a firearm to her own head, where's the assault?
Right. And then, I can see maybe brandishing a weapon as possibly a threat or something like that. But, then you have to go into intent and things like that. But, until there's contact, I don't see how we have an assault charge.
Yeah. I'll take it further if we're on this topic. What if the gun was at her head already when Noonan entered the room? Then what? I mean, could be said she had that there. He's the one that went in the room. How is that assault on him? I mean, there's a lot of
technically, according to the law, it would have been.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
If only there were body cams.
Right. Yeah.
Right. To Lori's point, that's why it should be mandated in a state or in a country, really, because it's again, you wonder about departments. Do they purposely not have cams on because they want to? They're not looking to protect themselves with cams of what might happen. They're just, maybe they're doing. Is this department? I'm not trying to say this is what the case is, but maybe are more shady departments across our state not using body cams because if something ever happens, it's the old school way of doing things. Less cameras means people can get away with more things. If they don't have body cams on, well, they continue to do what they need to do in a situation such as this. And if that officer, and my theory still is that he just overreacted to the situation and opened fire. And if that's the case, then I still believe what happened was he opened fire. They realized afterwards what happened. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have shot her. Yeah, you're right. Well, let's just say that she tried to open fire on you first, then you reacted. Okay, that's what we'll tell. It's an easy story to manifest when there's no cameras, to Laura, your point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'll say this, if any department feels that they are better protected without cameras than they are protected with cameras, then you need to take a very close look at your department and weigh whether everybody there should be there.
And something that I didn't fully realize or understand that I did after reading these papers that dropped this week is that they never interviewed Kelsey to get her side of the story on any of this. And I hadn't fully realized that. Like, how crooked is that? How are you going to come to some kind of a determination without speaking to the officer who was shot? That is just speaks volumes to me.
Right.
Yeah,
And go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead,
but
Baker.
but that's the thing again, and that entire arrest is just, now we saw that video of them entering already gloved up, so kind of we're ready, this will go south. Again, is that normally? I'm not trying to assume anything, but I think she's roughly your size, Brett. If 3 strapping young men Mazza's size walks in, and you're already ready for a fight, that, to me, that's weird. You know she's alone. She has a small baby in the house, and all the procedures they do, all the steps they take, are just setting up for disaster. We leave a guy alone with him. We call the the boyfriend to the house. Why would police? That's an escalation. Why are they ready for a fight when they step into the house? She's not known to be a violent person. She's a police officer. She might have spazzed out and been drunk once. Well, we all have had fights and arguments where we might have gone a little bit too far if we're drunk. But she's not known to be violent. We have heard nothing that there was a reason they needed to be gloved up, because, come on, we need to go in and grab her. And then you call the boyfriend to the house who's taking her baby away. And then you set it up to failure and say, no, the lieutenant has to go down and keep the boyfriend that he called to the house away, so she's alone with an officer in the room. There's so many basic mistakes made that makes no sense in all of this. And that's why I think it's so interesting, because one thing is, there's no body cam. I remember when everyone said it's for the civil liberties of the people they are arresting, and in reality it helps the police officers a whole lot that they have body cams, because all of these accusations against them can be disproven now. But in Massachusetts, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's just stack all of these negative reinforcers against a woman who, you're going to take your baby. What's going to happen when you're going to take a baby? Yeah, it's like they set her up to fail. And again, you work in family court. Have you ever heard they're going to call the other party to the party where the kid is being removed? I have never, ever heard something that ridiculous at all.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, those are escalating factors. Those are all things that, and you are supposed to be of a mindset for de-escalation. So, things that would de-escalate. How about getting Kelsey out of the house before sweeping the house for guns? Sure. How about having Department of Children and Families present, or a social worker? Someone there whose job is specifically to evaluate the welfare of Caden. Happy birthday, baby Caden, by the way. And to evaluate Kelsey's mindset and make some kind of a determination. Usually, if someone makes an allegation of abuse or neglect or threats to a child or whatever, and by the way, Justin never said that Kelsey harmed Caden in any way. He never said that she did. He said things like, I'm afraid that she will, but he never claimed any actual harm to this child. And so there should have been somebody there to assess just what, where Kelsey is, first of all, how the baby is doing, and then make a decision. Instead, you had, 3 cops, none of whom had body cams. And, like Baker said, they were gloved up and ready to go. And it seemed like they were just asking for more and more trouble. And to ask Justin to come over there and pick up the kid without any kind of padding in between shows you exactly what side they were on from the beginning.
Yeah. And as I was a social worker for DCF. So I've seen hundreds of these situations. They go very differently than this. The cops don't ever take into their custody the child. The CPS or DCF, depending on where you're located, is the agent who takes control of that child. There would never be a situation like this where the person who is filing the RO is on site to receive that child. That is wholly inappropriate. And the cops, just to go along with that, the cops are trained in these de-escalation tactics. This isn't of like, hey, we're just going to decide to do this. No, they're trained to do these things. And they did the exact opposite. So they hold so much liability here for having him come on the property, for not securing the weapons. These are things they are trained to do first and foremost before they enter a home. That's why they're there. If they're ever on a call with DCF, it is to secure the scene, to make sure those weapons are not there so that the person can't pull them out on like the DCF worker, those type of things.
Mhm.
That's all they're there for. Here, they didn't do any of the jobs that they were supposed to do. So there is so much they just decided they weren't going to do, and that is criminal, in my opinion.
I'm just still shocked that though the second she opened up that door, they, I would say this, it's like if a salesperson or whomever comes to your door, usually they state their business, why they're there.
Mhm.
That video footage of Kelsey opening up her door, and I did have a person or two try to refute me on it, but I just think that those people are wrong, because you think that they would basically say, hi, Kelsey, we're here for such and such a reason. We have an RO, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. It seems to me that they entered that house under false pretenses, which, in my opinion, I see it as they deceived her by saying, hi, Kelsey, do you mind if we come in? And Kelsey basically being, in my opinion, absolutely caught off guard with very little time to react or even think things through, just saw her fellow officers, said, oh, they're here. Yeah, guys, come right on in. And I still pointed out, I think in one of our last fundraisers, if you watch her, when she kind of opens the door instinctively. Then as soon as they walk in, she kind of looks back around her shoulder. And I think that was the time where the human mind takes a moment or two to react. And I think that's almost the point where her mind starts to react like, okay, wait a second, what's going on here? And I put that back on the officers because I feel like they preyed upon her in that situation, saying, hey, it's your friendly police department and your partners. Let's come on in. Can we come on in? Yeah, sure. Oh, by the way, we have an RO. They should have been that camera footage, because they show them walking up in that footage. She walks to the door. She opens the door, and in a split second, the next thing you know, they start stepping foot in that house. That should never go down that way. They should have been out there saying, this is where we are. This is why we're here. This is the situation. Then she should have the opportunity to open up that, let them in. But they just she opens up the door, and they're already walking in. And Kelly Reed giving some good words here. She says, hi, Mark. Great show as always by you and your fabulous panel. Free Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
Yeah, I feel that they took advantage of Kelsey's trust. But that was, probably the least of their misdeeds that day.
Correct.
But yeah, certainly taking advantage of the fact that Kelsey knew and trusted at least one or two of those gentlemen who came to the door. And I use that term loosely, gentlemen. But yeah, I mean, again, with there being no actual harm to the baby, and Lauren made a very good point earlier. What if when Noonan walked in the door, Kelsey already had the barrel to her own temple, so to speak? That would explain why we hear reports of hearing, don't do it, Kelsey.
Right. And to me, I know you have the best Southern insults, Brett. J. Walsh says. Yeah, I think that's huge too, is that, obviously we'll get to the female officer, which is a big point as well. That can't be said enough, but total 664 right now. But again, looking at the whole situation, that, like you said, they say, quote, that's in one of those documents, Kelsey, don't do it. And to me, that's one of the smoking guns in this whole thing, was that quote would not be typically an officer response to someone that would be hypothetically pulling a firearm on them. They'd say, put it down right now, or blah, blah, blah.
Right. Drop the weapon.
It wouldn't be, don't do it, like don't jump. And that's very damning. And I'm sure Bradel and his defense team are going to bring that point home throughout throughout that jury. But I'm willing to bet that there's footage in that house, and I hope there is, and I hope it's great footage. I hope it shows everything night and day, because if there is, that's going to be huge for her, in this trial coming up.
Yeah, and sorry.
No, go ahead, Baker.
No, but that's the thing that's so scary in all of this. Imagine she didn't have those cameras. Again, why is it upon? Because the state has all the power, the state has all the money. Why is it upon the civilian to protect themselves against the state? I live in a socialist country where we believe the state is always right. You live in America, a country that got so angry over a 2-cent tea tax that you threw out the world's greatest empire. And now the same citizens have just said, nah, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And that's why it's so important that people are doing this online, are raising these questions, because as soon as she had Bradel as a lawyer, all the usual suspects were, yeah, she's guilty. They don't care about the law. They're just, oh, we don't like this person because he represents someone else we don't like, so, well, she must be guilty. That's not how you should see it. You should see this and say, why are they stacking the deck against this poor woman? And I think that's what's the most infuriating part about all of this is Massachusetts seems like they are, sorry to say it, a little bit of a dictatorship. Judges act rogue, police officers act rogue, and it's upon the citizen and civilians like us to try and sit and say, this isn't right, this isn't the way it should be. And people just closing their eyes and saying, that'll be fine.
Well, and then when it is highlighted by the public, it seems that, the very bodies that are put there for oversight are just indiscriminately protecting the misconduct of these rogue officers. For example, I think the whole purpose of everything that happened on June 30th was to make sure it was very difficult for Kelsey to get baby Caden back. If we add a pending criminal charge onto the restraining order, then it makes Kelsey look worse in family probate court, right? If we have a separate criminal case against her, then her credibility looks a lot worse. When you saw the motion for recusal last week, one of the first points that Tim Bradel made is that Judge McCarthy Nyman made a separate order, put in a separate order for Kelsey to have no contact with her child, which means that in the event that the restraining order is lifted or that the family probate court allows for visitation, supervised or otherwise, Kelsey would still be in violation of her bail conditions if she saw baby Caden.
And how well was it going to work for her to ask for a modification of those bail conditions? You saw how great that went for her.
Yeah, that worked out great.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to ask why. Why is she willing to do all of this? All of these very serious things that could lose her job. For who? Because it's for someone. It's not for herself. I can tell you that much. So there's a backstory there, which is why, in my opinion, the citizens there and the people who pay taxes in that city, in that county, have a right to a hearing on the misconduct that was placed upon McCarthy Nyman, because this isn't over just because she is not presiding on this case anymore. There's other cases she will be presiding over. There are past cases that she's presided over, and they have a right to know what the truth is.
And there should be consequences. 103 days in jail, there should be consequences. Maybe that wouldn't have gone down the way it did. Maybe if the SJC had that information before they made their decision, which I don't agree with their decision either, but they weren't fully informed. They didn't have all that information about Officer January. the whole, not to mention all the legal fees that Kelsey has had to spend on all of that.
Right.
Yeah, great
and
point.
Then, Lori, I would love to ask you, especially since you are a member of the Massachusetts Bar, is it not perfectly normal for a defense attorney to have communication with their client's probation officer?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Just to ensure
because you want to
compliance.
make sure that they are in compliance. They are able to
Yeah.
do the things. And when Kelsey, what probably happened was Kelsey communicated to Attorney Bradel that she was having difficulty with that scram. So the first thing he did probably before filing the motion and getting involved in that was to call the PO and to talk to him about that. And you remember Officer January actually testified that he witnessed her doing it and he could see genuine pain when she was doing it. So that her complete disrespect of the probation officer was incredible. You don't normally you see, the judges working with probation. They do it all the time. They really leave the enforcement of the bail conditions to probation, as they should. That's not really the judge's role. The judge sets the terms of the bail, but they don't get involved in monitoring it. That's a probation function. I don't know why she felt she needed to, involve herself so personally in it. That's what concerns me. That's what really needs to be vetted here. And to just have a summary dismissal of Attorney Bradel's recusal motion by saying, "Oh, it's moot." No, this stuff still needs to be investigated.
Yeah, 100%. And when she made her first ex parte communication that we know of with the probation office, what was she looking for then? Because, we know that Bradel had just filed a motion to amend the terms of the probation, right? So what was it that she was trying to get from either Officer January or otherwise?
She wanted to get information. I'm sorry, but this is what I've gleaned from the hearing and from that communication that she had with him. I don't know why. The why is what I don't know. But she was looking for information that she could use in the hearing the next day to violate Kelsey on the bail terms. Yeah. I firmly believe that's what she was doing. Unfortunately, when she went to probation and had this ex parte communication with Officer January, he didn't give that to her. So she had to create it. So at the hearing, I think some of it is she was just so furious with, I guess, Attorney Bradel taking up the court's precious time, as she had to keep mentioning all these different hearings that he was bringing it in, because God forbid he's trying to help out his client. But she was very, very annoyed by all of that. She didn't like being challenged or questioned by that. But I think that she was hoping she would go and talk to January, and January would say, yeah, there were a couple of missteps and she really wasn't able to blow into this thing, and we have some mistest. And, she's like, oh, goody. Let's now I can violate her. I have reasons to violate her. And that didn't happen. So
she
wanted to shut him up at the hearing. She wanted to shut Officer January up at the hearing. She was so rude to him. It was incredible.
And you have to ask again, why? There's only one reason, is that she's connected to the people who wanted Kelsey in jail and wanted the baby. That's the only reason. That's it. So again, this is it is exactly what everyone has been saying from the beginning. We now have proof of that, and it is disgusting. And I hope the citizens there aren't just happy that she's off the case, but we need to press and demand answers. This is not okay that think about this. People are busy. Judges are busy. She went to that office. She made a whole stop in her day to go there. We deserve answers. The public does. People who have had her on their case prior, people who might have her on their cases in the future, deserve answers. It's not acceptable for a judge.
No,
This-
and again, every other thing you hear from America is they're trying to keep people out of prison. They give them very lax rulings. You just come back within the next 72 years and we'll figure out a date. This woman, first of all, spent a very long time in hospital. And then the first thing this judge does is toss her back in prison on a charge that would land her on probation. There's so much wrong in all of what I just said that it should be investigated. And what do? They do like a paper magic trick and says, well, she's not on the case anymore.
Right.
Well, that doesn't change that it's not like, oh, I did a DUI yesterday, but I'm not drunk today, so you can't really convict me of it.
Right.
It's such a weird way of seeing the world that, well, she did something bad, but she's not going to do it again. Trust me. It just makes no sense. I'm sorry, but it's infuriating to sit on the sidelines and see this is how you treat a woman who actually wanted to be a police officer as well. And we haven't really talked about that police department having a little bit of a massage therapist problem as well, where these women are not treated nice, I think is the political correct way to say it in that police department. So is it that? Was it hey, let's just get her out of here and help with that? I'm when you sit here and speculate, there's a lot of reasons you get up. When they treat women like that, are they trying to get her off the force by doing something stupid? Is that why we're setting her up to fail all the time? It's not enough just to say, well, the judge is gone, so there's no problems. This judge broke the rules, and every rule in all of reasonable sense has been broken in this case.
Mm-hmm.
They're
trying. Go ahead, Lauren.
Oh, sorry. No, just to go along with Baker's point. Also, we know how long it takes for Massachusetts to do anything, like a month, for one thing that should have taken 2 seconds. The fact that they came out the very next day with this, oh, nothing to see here. We're going to go ahead and grant this because it's moot because she has other schedulings. When have we ever seen something 12 hours later from Massachusetts? Never. So come on.
Right. It was like enough time to brew a pot of coffee and then
damage
boom,
control.
there it is. And that what they're trying to avoid with that is an evidentiary hearing. The evidentiary hearing that would have come from that motion. We would have found out what McCarthy's connection is with, I don't know, Patrick McCarthy Noonan, or perhaps someone else or additional people. We also would have found out more about the ruling in which she completely took away Kelsey's bail for literally no reason. And we would have found out more about that ex parte communication, which not only is an ex parte communication very, very serious, but when you go out of your way to keep the other side from knowing about it, that is a huge no-no.
Well, I mean, it's an actual rule. It's an actual violation of judicial conduct. I mean, it's an actual rule that says no ex parte communications. There are very few exceptions where judges can talk to court personnel in certain types of cases. This is not one of those cases. So there is an actual rule and she violated it. I mean, it's just not even, that's black and white. So there should be consequences for it.
Yeah, I think the only exception is like matters of life and death, basically.
Well, it's like drug court cases. Sometimes they'll allow that kind. But the funny thing is, in those kind of cases, it's generally because it's kind of more of a social work aspect where the judges are actually trying to help people out. Not trying to put them in jail. So they will maybe communicate more. Juvenile type cases as well. Obviously, this isn't one of those. This was a pure violation of the code of judicial ethics. There's no way around it.
And she
and
essentially,
I don't think she knows that, because this is what I don't understand. she did that thing and she had that communication, and then to turn around and file that complaint against the probation officer.
Right.
It makes it's like, it just says a lot about her. It says that she feels like she can get away with anything, that she doesn't have to concern herself. And that is a problem with a lot of our judiciary. I hate to say it, but I mean, they do think that they're above it all. They are, they are appointments, political appointments. They are attorneys, but they're political appointments. The governor actually has the final say in terms of appointing people to the judiciary. And so many times, I'm not saying all the time, and I know a lot of great judges, but many times these people have a lot of connections and they do feel like they can get away with this kind of stuff, because why wouldn't she think that if she has the nerve to go around and then turn around and file a complaint against him? She thought there were going to be no consequences for that. No flies on her. She had no problem doing that. But that was really her undoing in this case. So I'm grateful to probation officer January for coming forward, and because that, he had to weigh out the risk to him in his career in doing that too. And it shows that he's a stand-up guy. And I always felt that way, even at the hearings. I don't know him personally, but he was doing his job and trying to do the best thing, by telling the court. He's been a probation officer for a long time. He's gone before these judges many, many times. This was all crazy to him too, I'm sure. And I'm interested to see the FOIA requests on these complaints and whatnot that were filed. I'm sure that some of your listeners, Mazza, have already filed those requests, and I can't wait to see those.
Yeah.
You also have
been CJC complaints filed.
Yes, I filed one.
Oh, good for you, girl.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have that little problem that the ex parte, he's not even telling the state he's having an ex parte. So she's actually cheating both sides.
Yep.
That if I was working for the state, I would have a bee in my bonnet. And I would say, well, we're going to help Kelsey now because she's done her time. She's not going to get any more sentence. Her life is already ruined. F that. This judge didn't even respect us, the DA's office, to tell us, hey, I'm going to go make some shenanigans with Officer January. That's the thing I find most egregious, that the DA's office are just sitting there saying, yeah, well, she cheated us as well. Happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. To Baker's point, that's it. You can't have it, number one. And number two, you're supposed to disclose it. It's up to you if you disclose it. You have to disclose it. So she didn't disclose it. So that is essentially 2 times that she just said, screw the rules. I'm above it. And in my experience, when people are that brazen, it is because they have been doing it before. So I will.
Yes, right.
I will stand on this, and it is all my opinion, but this isn't the first time that she has done it. And if they don't address it and handle it, it will not be the last person, and this will not be the last victim of hers.
Or she had a personal reason. Either way, not good. She should have removed herself from the case if there was any kind of personal connection.
Yeah.
And back to what Mazza said in the beginning when he had his little heated moment where he said,
Spicy
Mazza, where he said, hey, let's forget all the shenanigans. Let's forget all of that beef that we can make a little bit of money out of yelling at each other on the interwebs. Let's try and refocus and say, Massachusetts is a horrible state when it comes to the DA's office, police officers, and the court system. Maybe we should forget who we don't like. It's okay not to watch other channels or not to hype other channels, but you don't have to try and actively try and just ruin everything, because there was a great movement that was built together across the pond, across political everything, because everyone was in agreement. And you don't have to sing Kumbaya, but there's still a woman out there who's being railroaded by a system that tried to railroad another woman before that, and is trying to railroad a lot of people. By the way, I love Proctor's response to Karen Reed. She shouldn't have it because all of my texts are just racist, and she's a white woman. That was the greatest response I've ever seen to Easter. his lawyer must just be sitting there looking at it and thinking, "Oh my God, I can't do this."
Oh.
But Mazza, I'm it's 9:30 and it's Sunday evening. I'm going to take half an hour in my chair and watch the last of the ice hockey. We're still up 3-2. Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you, ladies, for letting me be on with you, and thank you for meeting you for the first time. And hopefully, I'll get to see all of you some point down the road. And get over 1,000 before I go. Come on now. Come on.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're at $9.99. Let me see if let me do one more check for you. Let's see if we got it. And no, we're still at $9.99.
Can't leave on $9.99. Come on, somebody has $1. No,
I got you on the dollar. I'll do an IOU.
See you all later, and have a wonderful night. And thank you so much for letting me hang out with you intelligent, nice people.
We're at 1,044 just as soon as he leaves the show. I was hoping that's okay. We just hit it, $1,044. And let's see, she is how far off now? So we're at $150 away from 75,000 right now.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Awesome. That's so good.
You guys are amazing.
So happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the things that have happened to Kelsey in her case, can you imagine what her legal fees are? And a lot of it is because of this nonsense. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just really thrilled with the fundraising. I can't. I know we want to hit 75,000, but even before that, I'm just so thankful for all the people that have contributed here today. That are making this donation, and this really validates Kelsey's fight, and people just growing in belief that they support her, not only from a mental standpoint, but people are putting money out there for her. As we just got another donation, we're $105 out right now for $75,000. I looked at the total before the show started. I'm like, we have a chance to hit 75,000 today. This is great. I'd love to get her over that. My ultimate goal is to get her over 100,000, but it takes time. It's, we've done 11 fundraisers here. Me and Lauren Katie have done some on her show too. It's like anything. It takes time. You have to package fundraisers together over time, and you eventually get there, which is great. As we hit 74,915 now, we're now about $85 away. This is outstanding, folks. Thank you so much for helping Kelsey in this huge fight. And getting back to the judges, and this is Cannoni and McCarthy Naaman. I've just sat here and said, as much as I used to despise Judge Beverly Cannoni, I just think that she looks like almost sometimes redeemed by this other judge that has sent Kelsey to jail for over 100 days, has gone and had private communications with January. This is just outrageous what we've seen and how she's conducted herself. And it gets back to the point where, why is a judge, you're talking about the call of duty for people that are in servicemen and women, they call it the call of duty, right? For a judge who sits on a bench, that's what you do. You sit over on a bench, you preside over a case, sometimes you're in your chambers, you do that. But for a judge to basically be leaving and going out and trying to have private communications and get certain information that can help her as a judge. A judge is not supposed to have a vested interest in the outcome of the case at all. This is none of her concern. It's like when you watch a sports game, you don't expect the officials to be cheering for one team or another. You don't expect, like officials to, see a Patriots player knocked out of bounds, pushed and shoved, and not throw a flag. For example, last week in the Super Bowl, you expect them to throw the flag. It's the same thing here with a judge. You don't expect them to. The judge should have, and this is the same thing with Judge Beverly Cannoni. The judge has no stake in the outcome of a case, and if they present themselves in a manner that suggests that they do, that becomes a major issue for me, because, like Lori said, Attorney Lori Mullins said, what is her interest in this? What is her concern that she needs to have a conversation with January about what's happening and what's going on to get insider information? What is Kelsey? What is Kelsey Fitzsimmons to her besides someone that has a case in her courtroom? Why is she so concerned about sending Kelsey back behind bars or getting any information she can, which she ultimately did the next day, didn't she? She accomplished her personal goal of saying, off with Kelsey's head, send her back to jail, and walked out of the courtroom against Tim Bradel. And Lauren, you and I on your show had played that audio. Maybe it was my show. We played that audio again recently, and it's sickening to listen to it. I get so angry listening to it. It's like, how can you possibly do this? And again, as a judge, you're supposed to be fair and impartial. You're just supposed to preside over the courtroom, and that's it. This is not, it's people like us are the ones that can sit here and say Karen's innocent, Kelsey's innocent. We have we're sitting here, we're supporters, we're raising money. That's our business as outsiders. As a judge to do that, that's absolutely madness. It's absolutely madness.
Absolutely. And she was hell-bent on sending her back to jail before, and it wouldn't have mattered anything that Bradel said, in my opinion. She had an agenda that day, and she knew exactly what she was going to do, which is backed up by now what we know, that she went the day before to January's office to try to find something.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Motion to nickname Judge McCarthy the Queen of Hearts.
Sure.
With the off with your head.
At this point, it's like, my goodness, it's just that's just what it looks like to me. It's like a it's an evil, it was evil Disney movie queen. It's like off with their head. It's like, I just can't believe these are the things that happen that further justify we're actually $20 away from $75,000 now. These are the things that further justify why we, again, to bring it back down to reality for how court systems work. This shouldn't be a matter of battling a judge, which is what the Karen Reed case was. It was Judge Cannone became Emperor Cannone in both of those trials. McCarthy Naaman became, the evil Queen of Hearts? Said the Queen of Hearts. She became the Queen of Hearts. In this case, the courtroom should not be a battle against the judge. Okay, this is not Ghostbusters 2. Okay, where you have the evil yelling judge and says the Ghostbusters need to be burned at the stake, and then ghosts are all over the courtroom, and the Ghostbusters going to stop the ghosts. Okay, this is not Ghostbusters 2. Okay, this is not a movie where the judge is a character in a courtroom case. A judge presides. That's it. And just for this, again, I just can't get over this fact, because it takes it. When I see this kind of stuff, we're over $75,000, ladies and gentlemen. $75,280. $300 just came in.
Everybody.
Wow. All right.
That is so great. Mazza, in addition to the ex parte communication, which is a clear violation of the judicial conduct rules, there's also Rule 2.8 of the Code of Judicial Conduct, which basically talks about demeanor of the judge. And it requires the judge, I'm going to read it right from the rule, to be patient, dignified, and courteous to litigants, lawyers, witnesses, and others whom the judge deals in an official capacity, and to maintain decorum in proceedings. Does that describe that behavior of that judge that day?
Yeah.
Not
Never.
even remotely. I mean, if you remember, part of the reason we all were wanting the SJC to listen to the recording of that September 11th hearing,
yes,
rather than just read the transcript, is that, number one, the transcript gets cut off because Bradel was trying to recommend other, alternative means of testing for alcohol. And in the middle of him doing so, she just stood up and walked away from the bench. And the transcript got cut off, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But, the recording also shows that lack of patience and that lack of, courteous demeanor toward the defendant. So, I mean, I wish the SJC had listened.
Towards the defendant, towards the attorney, and towards the probation officer.
Yes, 100%. And I mean,
it was absolutely rude to him.
Oh, yes. Stopping him from you know, giving his perspective on things that he firsthand witnessed. He was trying to say we never would have violated her on the rest, you know, on something that she has no control over. She cannot control the fact that she was shot in the chest and is experiencing difficulty with this breathalyzer exam. You know, and she's quite obviously doing her best. What she was looking to get from Officer January was January saying, oh, she was feigning pain. She was pretending to have difficulty so that she could get, you know, some kind of preferential treatment. That's not what she was doing at all. And McCarthy was looking for January to say something like that, which is why she went to him the day before. But, you know, if they had just listened to that recording, they would have had a very, very different ruling, in my opinion.
And she was so furious with him for not coming up with something for her that she accused him of colluding with the defense.
And what is it that he would have even colluded with the defense to do? I mean,
he's just doing his job. He was just doing his job.
Yeah, I mean, on its face, that just is a ridiculous accusation. Again, it happens all the time. Defense attorneys reach out to the probation office just to make sure that they are operating within the parameters of, you know, their bail or their probation or whatever, that they are complying. And I mean, it's in no way inappropriate for a defense lawyer to be reaching out to probation.
It would be concerning if they never reached out to begin with. That would be what would be concerning. Yeah. Insanity.
Unbelievable. And, you know, the other thing, too, getting back to the judges, things that bother me about her, she never, and Bradel pointed this out, too, in his recusal motion, she never pointed out that she went to go talk to January at all. She never notified the defense. It was, I'm like, how could you not do that? And that's what makes it, you know, this judge, I mean, here, let's be honest about judges. Lori, you can either correct me or back me up, whatever you think about this next statement. But judges are typically supposed to be the most educated law person in the room when it comes to the court. Maybe that's not true all the time. You'll let me know if I'm right or wrong. But
well, they are, you know. Yeah. I have friends who are judges. There are great judges, but just like with any profession, there's bad lawyers, there's good lawyers. You know, they should be learned. They should be trying to, you know, enforce the laws evenly without any kind of prejudice or. But they are political appointments. And I do think that's a problem because like you see in something like this, nothing's probably going to happen to her. Nothing happened to Judge Cannoni. If you look at, I want to say it was KY Maverick on X, he had posted the last few years of judicial conduct complaints. And nothing much comes of them. It's like most of them are just like, oh, you know, dismissed without any further investigation. So it's concerning because it just seems like there's just a lot of the same old politics going on all the time. And, you know, to me, I made this complaint because I have an ethical obligation as an attorney. If I see a violation of a code of judicial conduct, or even if another lawyer is acting unethically, I have an obligation under the rules to report that. I'm very curious to see what's going to come of that because it couldn't be more of a clear violation. I mean, especially on the ex parte communication. You know, I don't see a way around it. Now we'll see whether it ends up being a reprimand at all. But if you look at all of the complaints filed, and I had to laugh because I've never reported a judge before. The form itself is a little clunky to work with. I couldn't file it online because the link was broken when I was doing it. It limits the space that you have to write it in. It basically says, unless you make it interesting to us in these first few lines on this first page, we're probably not going to even look at it. It kind of goes out of its way to basically discourage you from doing it, which I thought was a little strange. And they're like, well, you might be able to do attachments. Maybe we'll look at them and maybe we won't. It's like, okay. But I still did it. And to me, it's such a clear violation that I would be not meeting my ethical obligation as an attorney if I didn't report it. So.
And then correct me if I'm wrong in this, Lori, but it's in no way a black mark on a judge's record to recuse yourself. If you if you notice that you have some kind of conflict, you should remove yourself, even to avoid the appearance of any kind of impropriety. And so when you see a judge fighting to stay on the bench and remain the one presiding over a certain case, it really makes you wonder, why? What is going on here to cause you to be grappling over this? It doesn't affect her to just go ahead and drop that case. Oh, Microdots, I've got to say, I am so happy that you're going to start creating content for Kelsey. I cannot wait to see what you put out there. For anyone who doesn't follow Microdots, he is a creative genius. He made a huge difference in the Karen Reed case with putting things into perspective for the greater public. So make sure you follow him on YouTube. And then he also has a Patreon as well. So if you become a member of his Patreon, then you get early access to his content as well. So please consider that.
Thank you, Richie. We're all thrilled and cannot wait to see your masterpiece.
Yeah. I'm going to have to be playing that on my show too, Richie. You know that much. It's going to be playing here. I'm going to be firing that up on this network and saying, okay, let's watch this through and go through all of this. And one of the things I love about his videos too is he says, thank you so much, Britt. This story is astonishing. I'm mad. And absolutely, we're all mad. And I like the three-dimensional, like the way he recreates the houses, and he has like the little figures that you see and the cars and everything driving around. Like it really kind of brings it nicely into picture. And I think, to me, I like to look at things visually a lot, which is why I think Microdots has been not only educational for people, especially, through Karen Reed, Turtle Boy that he's covered, but he also just kind of breaks down, things as they happen in order. It might show like a car plow, it just really sets the stage nicely to really help build people's perspective on what happened. And I like how he takes like actual data and facts and he incorporates that into it. Like you might say like, the voice is like, and then, of course, at 2:35 in the morning, there was a call made, and then a text message, and then an unanswered phone. And as Michael Proctor approached the house the very next morning,
there's something about the British accent that makes it seem so real.
I mean, everybody knows your IQ goes up at least 20 points if you have a British accent. So.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I love it.
It's like no one else is doing what he does. Like it's incredible.
Yeah. 335 butt dials would occur on that night, which is absolutely, I like when the AI voice gets a little bit intense. It's like, which is absolutely astronomical by comparison, but it all points back to one person.
Can we get some donations for Maz's Brit accent?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Oh my goodness. And then when I show people in court testifying, all of a sudden it's like, but that wasn't true at all. And so bright data perfectly shows otherwise. I just love the way it's done. It's just amazing.
Oh man, what's the name of the British gentleman who narrates a lot of like nature documentaries? Oh man, hopefully someone in the chat
Yeah.
remembers. This is gonna
Yeah.
bother me.
Yeah.
He you know, especially like the large cats, you know, cheetah, you know, he'll narrate like a cheetah chasing down his prey.
I don't know who he is, but I have his I have it in my head now.
Man. Attenborough, thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
Is it David Attenborough? Yeah, thank you guys. Yes. Man. So yeah, Microdots is the David Attenborough of the Commonwealth.
somebody wrote Anthony Hopkins. Wasn't he you know, Dr.
my.
Lecter?
Not the
Right,
same,
exactly.
That's a little different.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Backup narrator, Mazza.
Oh Lord.
Oh,
Y'all
my
are
goodness.
here.
$1,570 right now raised for Kelsey today. This is awesome. And what's great too is about, you know, every fundraiser is that every single time money is raised or donated during these fundraisers, it only adds on to what was already there. Kelsey was at 73,800 at the beginning. You know, we get it over 75,000, adds on. And like I said, this is not just for attorney fees. It's also for health as well, as we know. That's going on. And you know, on the people out there not too happy we're doing this, and that's fine, because I'm sure they're upset about it, because, you know, that's the whole goal, is to get people like Kelsey isolated by themselves, where they have no help. They don't have the financial backing. That's what they want to do. They want to serve a restraining order, take her baby, shoot her, throw her in jail. They want to do all this stuff without any public eye on this whatsoever. They want to keep this quiet. And what they want to do is what they want to do to people in this state, and possibly across this country too, is basically do whatever they need to do to get whatever they want, take people out the back door quietly, do what they need to do, and then they all get to walk away scot-free. That didn't happen in the Karen Reed case, because everybody spoke up. Everybody got it out there, that news. And it's the same thing here. We're getting this out here. Every time there's new footage, we're sharing it. We're talking about it. We're raising funds. And it takes all of us. And I think that's what's so important here, is just that this, you know, we don't let Kelsey get isolated by herself. You know, she was in jail by herself, but outside, you know, we were doing everything we could. Her defense team, you know, her paralegal, Courtney Healy, Martha Coakley, the former attorney general, Tim Bradle, you know, and probably some others there that I may not be mentioning. Her family have been out there just doing whatever they can throughout that entire time she was in jail. And this is a grave injustice what's happened here. This is all because of what it all boils down to is this is all because one person wants the child and doesn't want Kelsey to have the child, that all of this has happened, that now she's shot and then she's getting thrown in jail, and this judge was talking to January like this. It's just this is just all madness that this is going on. This is about a mother that when you see Kelsey Fitzsimmons when she's with her child that day, that's literally all Kelsey wanted to do. Raise her child, enjoy the time with her baby, who's about to turn 1, enjoy her life, you know, serve, you know, as a police officer like anybody else that's ever been a parent. You raise your child, you go to work. That's your life, and you enjoy it, and you have your good time. But to suddenly have her house basically, I'll say it invaded, basically, baby snatched, shot, basically her dumped into the gutter of life, like she's common garbage, is unacceptable to me. And we're not going to stand by and watch that happen to somebody. Kelsey Fitzsimmons is a person of value. She's a person with rights. She's a human being. Her child is a human being who at this point is not having life the way it should be, in terms of, at the very least, getting to see at least both parents at the very least. That's not happening either. This is something that shouldn't be happening in the manner that it's happening. And I blame a lot of people. I blame the judge for throwing Kelsey Fitzsimmons behind the jail. I blame the North Andover Police Department and Charles Chief Gray for representing one of the worst police departments in the state of Massachusetts, right alongside Canton Police Department, which has seen a lot of changes. I hope the people in Canton are getting what they need out of these changes. I hope the best for them. So those people have worked very hard in their town to turn their town around. And then you see North Andover, and they've had an issue with female police officers, haven't they? A lot of issues with female police officers, 2 of which have filed some charges, and I believe one of them was retaliated against simply for supporting another female officer and the issues she was facing in that police department. And I believe North Andover has a lot of changing to do, because they apparently think that they can just do whatever they want to one of their own officers. I mean, let's be honest here. Kelsey Fitzsimmons was not. Every now and then you hear a news story where someone goes to jail and you find out what they've done. It's like, well, I suppose that particular person was par for the course in terms of having certain things like this happen to him. Kelsey Fitzsimmons is not one of those individuals. She's someone that's had a good life. Has she drinking a little bit of alcohol? Of course. I'd like anybody to stand up that has not drinking alcohol, including the judge.
At her bachelorette party. I mean, that's
Right.
unheard of. That's unheard of.
Right.
Yeah.
I really feel that the news headline they were going for that day was new mother with history of, mental illness or whatever, killed after brandishing weapon to police. I think that is the news story that they really were going for. You've heard the term.
It almost happened.
Yeah, and you've seen the term self-unaliving by cop, right? You've seen that many times. I think they really were hoping that this story was going to end on June 30th, 2025. And everything that we've seen since has been a game of cover your backside. And that's why you have the narrative that came from Officer Noonan, who now, by the way, after being cleared pretty quickly to go back to work, is about to be on leave again. I wonder why. Maybe he has some kind of history of some kind of behavior that he did not want out there and being uncovered with the Kelsey Fitzsimmons story. But
too late.
Yeah, it definitely is. So according to the local news in North Andover, Noonan is about to be taking more family leave of some kind. And so I don't know if he's gotten in more trouble. I don't know, what's going on, but yeah, his immediate supervisor told local journalists that he's, about to be on leave again. Yeah. So who knows? But I think everything that has happened since June the 30th has been, some form of trying to keep themselves from looking bad, and keeping everybody who screwed the pooch on this case out of trouble.
They've just. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say they've tried to take Kelsey's voice from day one. That's what this whole one-party hearing thing was. Justin giving his narrative. She was unable to speak for herself, and she was in the hospital for 53, 56 days. And then since then, she's been charged and not able to speak. So, fortunately, we have some of the papers that outline what is alleged to have happened, Kelsey's side of the story of what happened that night. And we have our own free minds to discern what we feel the truth is in those documents and then piece together bits and pieces here and there. But Justin, his family, North Andover police, were not expecting that to happen. They thought they were going to run this narrative until trial and take the baby, get full custody. Well, surprise, that didn't happen. No one bought your BS. And now the public is speaking out. We're having things like these fundraisers and speaking out in ways that the only thing that we can do. And so, in essence, being a voice for Kelsey. And nothing pisses off corruption like unexpected voices when they were trying to silence the person that they have taken the voice from. So that's why these are so important. And getting Kelsey's story out there is so important because they wanted to make this narrative and basically tell the story how they wanted it told. Well, it didn't work. And so that's why it's so important to get her story out to others who don't know about it, to be able to donate here and there when we can. It really makes a difference, because if we don't speak our voice, we let them get what they want. And we cannot do that. We just simply cannot. This is happening everywhere. I just got back from the Edwick Foss trial in Atlanta. That corruption up there is some of the worst corruption I've ever seen. The judge, the DA never expected anyone to show up for Mr. Foss and support him. And boy, that DA up there was not happy when he hired a fantastic attorney who was speaking out and calling all of their bluff. He has a chip on his shoulder, and you can tell it's very personal with him and the defense attorney. And then to have people on that side of the courtroom supporting Mr. Foss, they are so pissed about it. They look back on that side all of the time. They are not happy. So to support someone who they thought was not going to be supported, and this is the same, it goes back to Kelsey too. Nothing pisses them off more. So, we have a lot of power, even though we feel like we can't really do a whole lot. We do have power in some essence, and we can use that power for good and to support and to back what we feel is injustice.
Yeah, it's huge.
Amen,
Lauren,
girl.
great. Yeah, Lauren, you've been awesome as well. I'm so thankful for every fundraiser you've been on here, to join me and have me on yours as well. You've been absolutely awesome. I just like your whole perspective on everything. You have a great amount of experience as well. It's extremely applicable to this matter, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I just enjoy listening to your perspective, and you're passionate as well. You're absolutely passionate about all this. And I just want to say some kind words to you. I know you've said kind words to me, but I want to say kind words to you as well. So,
well, thank you. And I mean, you're we should strive to be. You have your eye on the prize, the things that you're passionate about, and you do it. And so, that's, if I can just be half of that, I'll be happy. So thank you, Mazza, because it really does inspire me to want to do something, to make a difference as well.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Thanks, Lauren, so much. And great news. All the fundraisers I've done, or I'd say I should change it to we've done through the MazzaMedia show, have now crossed $23,000 today through this fundraiser as well. And this is probably about I think it's the fourth highest. This might be the fourth highest of the 11 today, which is amazing. So that's awesome.
That's
news.
Amazing.
Well, I think Judge Kathleen McCarthy Naiman did us all a favor this week, because I think a lot of people saw that come out and were pretty shocked by what was in all of that. And it brought more people's awareness, maybe some people who haven't already been involved. And that's really what it's all about, is just to keep getting more and more people to have eyes on this, because it makes a big difference. As we've seen, we saw it with Karen's case, and we see it with this case.
Absolutely. And Lori, one of the big things you've said too on this program is that all the years you've been an attorney, you've never filed essentially an ethics complaint against the judge. Has there ever been anything where you've come close to doing that, or is this just way ahead of the pack in terms of aggravation that you've seen from a judge just being a total menace on the?
Yeah, I mean, I think with this one, because it was there's like an actual rule, and it's a clear violation of that rule, and I have an obligation to report that. I mean, there's been times when I've had judges on my own cases where I would be like, I don't know, this seems like maybe a little bit more than just they don't like my case. Like maybe they don't like me, or they don't like my client. But if I can't really find an actual rule that they're violating, I know from just other experiences that that's just going to get dismissed out. It just looks like sour grapes. You're getting a bad decision, and that type of thing, which is kind of why I did that, because for Tim to report it, that's kind of what the commission would think. They'd be like, oh, it's sour grapes. He didn't get his way, and now he's filing this report. For me, I don't have any personal stake in this at all. I don't know any of the people personally, but to me, it was a clear ethical obligation that I had under my rules of professional ethics. So I've never really seen something where it's been such a blatant violation of a rule that could actually be proven, right? Because you don't necessarily, and the way I look at it too is because I never have, I feel like they should take it kind of seriously, like I have filed only one other time a complaint against another, because I also have that same obligation filing a complaint against another lawyer if they've committed an ethical violation. And even because I'm up on my 37th year of practice this year. And even with all of that time, only one other time have I done that. I filed a complaint against another lawyer. And I will say my experience with it is another reason why I don't file it. My experience with filing that claim, it kind of turned into a thing where all of a sudden I was being attacked. And I was able to fight my way around it. And I'll give you the example of basically what happened. I had a divorce case, and there was my client's stepson, who was an attorney, transferred my client's property into his own name, signed the deed, had it notarized in my client's name, admitted that he did these things, and he was an attorney. So I felt that was a clear ethical violation. You are actually forging a deed and transferring property into your own name. And so I reported it. And then before I knew it, he had gotten some high-powered attorneys in Boston that were representing him on that complaint. And all of a sudden, I had the Board of Bar Overseers, who we report to the attorney complaints to, sending me out a letter asking me for an explanation, and me for an explanation about things I'm doing in this case. It's like, I haven't done anything unethical. So the amount of time I had to spend, basically they were trying to say that I was only reporting him because I wanted to get a leg up on this divorce case, which was not the cause at all. It wasn't the reason at all. The guy basically forged a deed. So that's kind of why sometimes, attorneys don't want to get involved. It's all just so many political connections. He got a high-powered law firm to represent him, and those people all have connections, and the people that get these jobs on the Board of Bar Overseers have connections. It is sad. It is sad.
And that's intimidating.
You really don't want to do it lightly. You don't want to do it because you're going to get yourself into some kind of stuff. And I may be getting myself into some kind of stuff with this, but I really felt like the rule says I'm supposed to report ethical violations. And to me, the ex parte communication it couldn't be clearer. It couldn't be clearer.
Well, I want to commend you, Lori, on your courage for doing that. I mean, you are a member of the Massachusetts Bar. So the judges that you report, the body to which you report this to, there's always a chance that you could stand, in the same room with one of these people someday. And, the fact that regardless, you are, standing for the greater principle and not personalities. I love seeing that kind of behavior. It's what we should see more of in your profession. But it definitely takes guts, and I'm so glad that you have them. I hope to see more Massachusetts attorneys, show the same courage that you have. But I definitely wanted to give you your kudos, because that's no small thing for somebody in that state.
Thank you, Britt. No, it's true. And it is difficult because you do come across these people, and everybody is so connected. This state is a very connected state, but we have these ethical rules for a reason. And I did not really see any other way out of it, honestly. It couldn't be more clear. It's basically, and you know, I mean, I guess the way around it would be for her to show that she didn't have that communication. So, but that's on the CJC to investigate that, and for her to, you know, provide evidence to them that that didn't happen. And I think she's going to be hard pressed to do that, because I have a feeling Officer January is a man of great credibility, and I just can't imagine that he would have come forward like that. Actually, his attorney, I guess. Thank you, Kelly. That she would that he would come forward with something like that and not have it actually be true, you know. So I don't know how she's going to get away with it. I don't, but she probably will, unfortunately. But the good news for Kelsey is we don't have to deal with her on that case. I do think it still should have been a recusal, because what if, you know, whoever the judge is assigned to her that day isn't there? But they're just making it seem like, oh, she's just assigned on a different thing now, all the way through, all the way through when Kelsey has her trial, which, quite frankly, we don't really know when that's going to happen. We have a date, but that doesn't mean that date's going to happen. If they don't, there's been issues with the discovery coming in. If Tim doesn't have all the discovery that he needs, if he doesn't feel like he's prepared to go forward, because of things that he's waiting for from the Commonwealth, that case gets pushed out. So then what? Now she's back again? I mean, I don't think she's going to be looking at this case again. But it just kind of goes to show you, like, they could have done the recusal, but they just, you know, they're just doing it a different way. They're going to sweep it under the rug.
Right. That's really what bothered me about this whole thing, was how petty this was. And it's like, when I saw that release and it says moot, I'm like, moot point? What, the recusal's moot? I'm like, then all of a sudden I read the second half of it. Right. And I started to read where basically it's like, well, you know, she was actually, you know, I don't know why you're even asking for this recusal, because she's already on other cases. And I mean, he was making it seem like everybody knows that she's not covering this case. It just kind of seemed to have like this nonsensical bravado to it, where it was like, what do you mean? She's not even a judge. What are you talking about? Like, it was that kind of attitude that I was getting from it, as opposed to just like, let's all stop and pretend. That's right. Let's all not pretend that Tim Bradel and that defense team, Martha Coakley, Courtney Healy, didn't absolutely knock the truth out of that entire courthouse with absolute truth bomb after truth bomb after truth bomb about what was going on. And Tim Bradel, Courtney Healy, Martha Coakley absolutely shook them to their very core, because they had more information. Because, I mean, when I saw it was on that recusal letter, some of the people that are tuning in watched me read it live. Britt, you were there. I was sitting there like, you got to be kidding me, because this was far more expansive than judge's bad, judge needs to be removed. This was literally not only, to me, not a recusal motion. I thought there was more than a sufficient argument there to suggest this judge should never oversee another case again in her career. Yes. Based on what I was reading. And Tim Bradel knocked her out of this world. And he who wins last, he who laughs last laughs best. Tim Bradel basically pulled the checkmate. He pulled the ace out of his sleeve with that and said, you know, I like the fact that you've been disrespecting me in this courtroom, but guess what? Now you're no longer the judge. So there's that. I mean, it was kind of like that for Bradel. But Bradel deserved to spike the football, because honestly, he was disrespected. His client, I mean, and he was disrespected by the SJC as well. I don't like the fact that the SJC, and they did this in the Karen Reed case after the first trial, that the Karen Reed's defense team went over, argued why certain charges should be dropped to re-poll the jury, essentially. SJC deferred to the judge's understanding, initial rulings. Same thing happens here. He goes to the SJC like, this judge is absolutely, you know, she should, you know, we went to this to have a certain hearing because we were complaining that she couldn't do the test. She could do the test, but not without difficulty. SJC just kind of covers their eyes, kicks it back to Judge McCarthy Naiman's initial ruling. Doesn't take it to the level of seriousness that it should have been. Kelsey remains in jail. Finally, they said, you know, she's good enough to take the test. Let's get her out of here. So we'll do the emergency motion. Got her home in time for Christmas, which was great. But she still spent all that time in jail, including Thanksgiving, on top of not even being able to see her baby, which was horrible. But
And
that's
I
the
found
problem.
at that hearing, she was very snarky and gloating, the judge at the December 23rd hearing. She really wanted to get,
Oh yeah.
it was almost like a personal thing with her and Attorney Bradel, where she was really trying to get him to admit that he messed up. And, well, you could have come in, at another time.
Yep.
I think Judge Drexler had mentioned that at a previous hearing too. He was kind of saying, oh, you could always come back in if she can do it now. But he would have had to remove the appeal, and it was a tricky situation. And the SJC did not address the due process issues. They didn't address them.
No. Pretended like it wasn't even there. And
exactly.
And that kind of having your nose up in the air. I mean, let's play this tape all the way through with the moot ruling.
Yeah.
Is what I'll call it. Where they were saying, oh, you were, incorrectly assuming that she was going to continue on this case. Her name was on the next 3 or 4 scheduled hearings.
As of yesterday, her name was still on there. I didn't check it today. So to make it seem like, oh, he incorrectly assumed. Well, you know what? If I see a judge's name next to a court date that I have, I assume that that's the judge that's going to be there. I mean, that's usually what happens.
One would think. It was just insane. And then, like you said, Lori, if Bradel wanted to return to Judge McCarthy with another motion for letting Kelsey out with, her newly acquired ability to use the Scram device, there's a procedural issue with that if he still has a motion pending in the SJC. So he couldn't have gone back.
Plus, I mean, did she seem like she was going to be really receptive to him going back? He
that
filed
was my
a motion
thing.
for reconsideration after she went to jail, and she just did another 7-page decision, basically saying, "No way, screw you." You know what I mean? So,
Richie, I'll send you. Richie, I will send you a screenshot of that. I have it, of what you were asking about in the chat. So I'll send it.
Perfect. All right. Just want to make sure you got that message, Brett. All right. Perfect. All right. Good. We want to keep Dr. Microdots as well as informed as possible with everything he needs access to because he's about to assemble that stuff like you read about in those videos.
Yeah, we got you. We got you, Richie.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Richie does such a fantastic job over at Microdot. I just like the assembly, the breakdown. I think it's going to be very good for, the thing about learning anything in life is that you know a lot of the details, but videos like that can help teach you things you didn't realize you didn't know, or even refresh you on something you may have forgotten, which is why videos that he makes are invaluable to cases such as this. They just bring so much information. Like I said, he does from a physical recreation to a data collection of just information. His videos are great. So yeah, Richie, great job, man. I'm happy because Richie, like I said to you in the past, you were the one that was pushing me to get on the air to talk about Karen Reed. And I was like, a month ago, I'm like, Richie, can you do a Kelsey Fitzsimmons? I was tagging you in a comment. I'm like, I want to see Microdots do a Kelsey Fitzsimmons video because this is a good case to cover. And I think this is another one with a lot of information that has a lot of dynamics that I think once people see the video too, the people out there that haven't either, the thing is too, is a lot of people sometimes have heard about this case, but they hear about it once and then they kind of go on with their day because there's so much information constantly out there. And I think once a sit-down video is made with a lot of assembled data, I think that will really get a lot of the people that have not had the time to dedicate their focus on this, that will get them to look at this and say, oh my goodness, this is outrageous. I need to follow this more. And that's another reason why we need to keep doing shows, keep pushing the information out there, because this will create more and more opportunity for people to get across this information, to see it, which is huge. That's what it's all about, is sharing the information, getting the educational based information out there for people. And that's why I think Microdots getting involved with this is just going to be another level to this thing, because that will be huge.
Yeah. One thing that I immediately recollect when thinking about how Richie kind of put things into perspective with the Karen Reed case. Some of the phone records, particularly with Jen McCabe, that was a big one. But another is, you know, I don't live in Massachusetts. There were, you know, specific layouts that Richie was able to provide, like the front yard of 34 Fairview, that really helped drive home, one, how easy it would have been for Brian Albert to hear the first responders that were right outdoors. You know, there were just a lot of things that maybe I would not have fully digested had it not been for Richie. And so do I need to turn my mic down?
Oh no, my ear tends to get a little sore every now and then with the headset,
okay.
so I tend to adjust it every show. It's like at a certain point, I just have to start adjusting my headset. Now it's just me. I would have turned my volume down. No, you're good, Britt.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Sometimes right when I log in to a show and there's multiple people, mine's like way louder than everybody else's. So I just wanted to make sure. But anyway, one thing I would love to see happen in a Microdots video for Kelsey Fitzsimmons is the way that her house, the interior of the house, is laid out. For example, the door in Kelsey's bedroom, or the lack thereof, and things like that would really be helpful with kind of understanding exactly what happened on June the 30th.
Yeah, that's going to be extremely helpful.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Even when just seeing that first video from inside the house kind of helped put things in perspective for me too, because I think that, especially with houses, you know, houses you can always look up on Google the outside of a house. Unless the house was recently listed, you know, you really don't get to see those interior pictures. But, you know, like you're saying here, I'm building a 3D model now. That's going to be great. You know, once you get to start to see the interior of the house, you start to get the perspective, you know, and I've seen some of the pictures, you know, of how the house looks inside. And when you see the bedroom, if you haven't seen that before, it's interesting to say the least. It's very close knit. It's not like, it's not like the shooting took place from, you know, like in the old West where they're 20 feet across and the downtown outside the saloon. You know, it's like any other bedroom. It's getting a certain amount of feet long. It's a certain amount of feet wide. Someone just said there's no door. Correct. You know, that's, again, it's a short range situation. When you see this stuff, you know, compared to what you're hearing in terms of what happened with the shooting, it's going to really kind of bring home a lot of the, like how could one of the shots have missed, for example? If the gun jammed like they claim, why didn't he just tackle her, pepper spray her, tase gun? I don't know what he could have done, but anything other than shoot her, which is what brings me back to the fact that she had to have pulled the firearm, like she said. And in the process of pulling that firearm and turning it on herself, that officer jumped to conclusions, overreacted, drew his firearm, triggered the firearm there twice, hit her once, missed once. And, you know, from there it went. And I think they kind of similar to what happened with the Karen Reed case. I've always believed that what happened to John O'Keefe, it's just my opinion that there was a level of agitation at the waterfall. Something went down in that house. But I still, for me, I don't believe they pre-orchestrated the killing of John O'Keefe. I believe that there was a hostile confrontation that was brewing. And then it just exploded inside the house. And in the process of exploding, a verbal confrontation turned into a physical confrontation that led to basically setting the tone for John O'Keefe to basically die if he didn't get medical treatment within a certain amount of time that he never got, and then he passed away. It's just my theory. This is my personal theory. Is I feel like this officer overreacted and decided to pull his firearm out and missed one, made one in terms of firing his shots. That's just my personal opinion. But again, there's a lot of people out there that think this thing was a lot more premeditated than that. And I can't absolutely say, but my present theory, that is my opinion, the theory I believe the most, I cannot possibly say it in stone that's what happened. because I don't know all the details. You know, some of the people that are watching, you know, out there that either a police department, if they're tuning in or whatever, would know the answers to what really happened. But I feel like, you know, I feel like this is another cover it up from behind, meaning something's happened. We now need to backtrack and try to make this thing all covered up. And that's possible. Another theory is this thing was absolutely premeditated. You know, is it possible Kelsey had been, you know, in a premeditated matter? Is it possible Kelsey had been saying that maybe an officer that she had some issues with the chief? This is all nonsensical, made up theories. I just want to make sure I'm clear about this. But is it possible she had some kind of issue with the police department, like the other two female police officers did? Was she gonna file a complaint? Did she confide in another officer at some point? Did that officer rat her out? You know, is that what happened? I don't know. But anything's in play. But I just think that it's interesting that he wouldn't tackle her to the ground or somehow try to restrain her other than opening fire, which again lends itself to quite a few different theories, which is scary.
Again,
Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
sorry. Again, they're trained in these things. This is not like the first individual that they've ever come upon who had a gun to their head. Like, they are trained this in the academy, and then they have to take retrainings. So they had options and they knew those, and he just didn't follow them, whatever the reason may be.
Yeah, it's insane. But I think that, you know, if the comment that they claim they made, Kelsey don't do it, was made, that to me would support a theory that would say that this was an incident that got out of hand, as opposed to a motivated, premeditated situation. So premeditated is probably no, Kelsey don't do it. You know, if it was something that happened incidentally, means they didn't expect to, you know, in other words, these guys didn't secure the firearm first. They didn't secure the scene first. They messed up big time. She happens to pull a firearm, which throws Noonan off his game, his guard, I should say. She goes to turn it on herself, but an officer interprets that as potentially a fatal shot at him. You know, then he reacts. He opens up two shots. One misses, one hits in whatever order. Then they connect her. The officers come upstairs, guns drawn. What the hell happened here? Oh, my God, I think she drew her firearm on herself, but I shot her like an idiot. Well, we can't let the public know that. So why don't we just say that she tried to pull the firearm on you? That will be our narrative. We got no body cams anyways. Let's just say she pulled the firearm on us, and then you open fire on her in self-defense. That makes you look good. We'll just make her go down as a patsy. You know, she was overly reactionary to having her kid taken away, drew a firearm, and that's to me, that's one of the theories. That's one of my predominant theories right now, is I think it could have happened something just like that.
And to go on to your point, Mazza, remember that they had Justin's affidavit when they came into that house. They had already seen that outlining, oh, I'm fearful that she would hurt the baby. I'm fearful that she will shoot the cops when you go in there. I'm fearful for this. So they had all of that, you know, ridiculous, unrealistic fear in their head put there from Justin's affidavit. So no doubt when that happened, he had that in the back of his head too. Oh, well, this is backed up by what this guy is saying. So everyone will believe the fact that, oh, I had to shoot her because she was shooting me. These are bright officers. And so he knew that. And that was also, you know, part of his backup plan, in essence, in my opinion.
That brings me back to a question. So, Mazza, one of the previous times that you and I had been doing a Kelsey fundraiser together, it was mentioned that Noonan claimed that the first shot missed Kelsey and the second shot hit. Mm-hmm. Did we ever confirm that? Because if that's the case, so, you know, typically when you have a discharge of a weapon and you fire twice, it's the first shot that hits and the second that misses because of the recoil of the weapon. So if Noonan really is claiming that his first shot missed Kelsey's body and the second shot hit, first of all, I find that very difficult to believe if it was one shot immediately after the other. Unless the first shot missed, and then he had enough time to really think this through, by the way, to think through his actions and replant his feet. But I don't recall if we ever confirmed that that's what Noonan claimed happened. I just remember hearing that before. Yeah. Does anybody know or remember?
I remember our conversation about that, but I don't think I ever found documented information that I at least recall where we had found out which shot was fired first. I know we'll get that come trial probably when he testifies, but yeah, that's the duration between the shots would be interesting to know too, because here's the thing. When you watch like your average action movie, there's a crime committed or a shooting that happens. The criminal has a certain amount of time to do whatever they need to do to the scene and then flee the scene altogether, right? They got to go because the cops are going to be there in a certain amount of time, or a neighbor's going to call the cops. Now, if cops are on the scene already and they're the ones that conducted the shooting, they don't have to wait for the cops to show up, because they have all the time in the world to just sit there, keep anybody out of the house that they want to, and then finagle anything that they need to do. I mean, you look at what's going on with Nancy Guthrie right now. They've been on scene for days there. It's the same thing with these cops in this situation. Who knows how long they were in that house? Who knows how long between shot? I mean, was there a shot fired and then one 5 seconds later, 20 seconds later, a minute later? I don't know.
Right.
But they have all the time to just sit there because they're the town cops. The state police aren't on their way. The feds aren't on their way. They're controlling the scene. And that's what's a scary situation. What's scary about this situation is that, like I said, if these were your normal everyday quote unquote shooters that were non-police and they went in someone's home and opened fire on them, they got to get out of there before the cops arrive. These cops, they don't have that time restriction. Yeah. Right. Which is scary.
And I don't know what Noonan said happened, but quite frankly, I wouldn't believe anything he said anyway. And just from like an independent investigation standpoint, there's absolutely no way to tell what shot hit when and first and whatever. It's just not possible. I've seen it in a million different other like murder cases and stuff. It would be impossible to prove for a jury. And I know Claudia was on here, who's ex-law enforcement, and she said a lot of times in the close proximity, which I was, surprised about, they do miss a lot because of the close proximity of it. So I don't know that it essentially matters, as it does more so the fact that that was his immediate response to someone having a gun to their head that he chose to fire to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know.
When I grew up in the 80s and 90s, I had a lot of toy guns. Now, my toys that I had were usually hand-me-downs from my dad. That was, from the 50s and 60s, for example. So I'd run around my neighborhood with like a toy rifle. It was one of those ones that had the little beads in it. You pull the trigger and the thing would just make the little rattling noise, right? So one day that thing got broken, which was probably a good thing because it was starting to creep towards the mid-90s. Times were changing, and at that point, a lot of toy squirt guns and stuff that I had in the 80s were they look real. I mean, they look real. And my dad used to give me explicit instructions. He's like, before you run around the neighborhood with those squirt guns and cap guns, and I used to have a Western silver-plated cap gun that looked real. I mean, it looked like a real Western handgun. Revolver I used to run around with, in the backyard, and nobody would blink an eye back in the 80s and 90s. That was nothing that nobody ever thought a second of. But as times went on, my dad would say to me, he goes, "You're going to be careful with that." So eventually my cap guns by the mid 90s were like yellow and orange, and they'd have like the red coloring on the front, things were changing. So my dad used to say, he goes, "Whatever you do, if you ever run around the neighborhood or whatever with that," because I know some kid back then, old times, he says, "You better drop that thing to the ground right away if they tell you to do that." And at that point, that's when I stopped playing with all that stuff, because number one, I grew up older. I was more into basketball at that point, but I just, times were changing too. And so I remember my dad specifically telling me that. My dad told me something that was letter of the law. It was, my dad's an ex-military guy, raised by military, the generation ahead of him. multiple people in World War II in that family. And he was like, you better just be careful. And I said, okay, I never forgot that lesson. And because as I learned over the years, a lot of times cops will jump in a situation, react, they'll draw their firearm thinking they're going to be shot and open fire. And I'm concerned that might have been what happened when Kelsey was drawing the firearm on herself. That I'm not trying to justify this officer or take away responsibility, but I'm guessing at some point that's what probably happened. Was he overreacted, opened fire, and then they had to clean up the situation and cover it up for themselves because he didn't want to look like a total moron for opening fire on a woman when they were serving an RO to take away a baby. But that
was the problem, Mazza. I mean, it was the procedure.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened in that room. And I'm sure it was awful for Officer Noonan too, but it just never should have happened that way. Yeah. None of that should have happened. That video of the 3 police officers going in, where was DCF? Why wasn't there a female officer? None of it makes any sense. And if you are going into that situation with that, affidavit of Justin about she has guns and she's going to use them on you, you remove her from the situation. You don't. So were they really afraid? I don't know if they were that afraid. If they're like, escorting her around without having the gun secured yet. So many procedural errors from the beginning of having that RO served. And that's what caused all of this to happen. That we need some major reform on that. We need some major reform with our 209A restraining orders anyway. They're just so easy to get. You talk about indicting a ham sandwich, the 209As, the courts are always looking to err on the side of caution with that. They're like, oh, well, and if half of this stuff is true, then we need to protect the child, or we need to protect, but there's so many different ways that they could handle it. And that was where the real problem started. It started in the probate and family court when Justin went and got the original restraining order, started there, and then the service of the restraining order, that was all done incorrectly, and it never should have happened.
I wanted to ask you, Lori, I forgot to ask this question throughout this show. The RO being used as a means to separate a mother from her child as opposed to a more normal process, such as a normal custody battle. Have you've never seen in your career this ever happen before? Is that
I have seen it happen before, unfortunately. I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, the restraining order statute is kind of ridiculous. There already should be things in place for it. And there really aren't. But police departments should have their own. I mean, I've seen it done correctly. Let's just put it that way. I've seen it done where DCF gets called. It's a little unusual a lot of the times because, let's be honest, Kelsey's a woman. She's the mom. That's a little bit more of a different situation when we're talking about having the child, the restraining order being served on her when she has custody of the child. It's a little bit different. We don't see it as often, if we're being honest. Generally, it's the woman getting the restraining order against the man. And a lot of times that's done a little bit too flippantly as well. But the difference is, when you're going to serve the restraining order on dad and he doesn't have the child, you don't have that issue, right? So then he gets to go in and have his hearing, and then the judge would probably be like, either allow the restraining order with a modification for parenting time or not. But you're not in a situation where you're taking a baby out of a parent's arms. And that doesn't happen a lot. So when it is going to happen, like, the judge should have had a little more forethought about when that order was issued to make sure that DCF got involved, that the police had DCF accompany them. I've definitely been involved in situations where I've had to do that. And as a practitioner, I specifically request that if I'm having a child removed from an actual parent on a restraining order. So that would have avoided all of that, honestly. And then 2 days later, or whatever, a few days later, she would have had her full hearing. It just she never got to that point. She just never got to that point. And then she was charged with a crime. I mean, these police officers weren't going there to charge her with anything. There wasn't an arrest warrant. They were merely serving this restraining order and removing the child. So she would have been, free to continue to go to court and get any orders that she needed to get, hire an attorney to represent her, to put this evidence forward, and she would be having parenting time. But she just never got to that point. And then, McCarthy Naaman basically putting out as one of her bail conditions when Justin had nothing to do with the crime that she's charged with.
Yeah. This is an interesting comment too. You shouldn't be able to file for an RO and then go to the house of the person you filed it against.
That's crazy. That was crazy. And not only that, but he's going through her stuff. I mean, like that. Just and it was all a setup because I think he had said he was going to meet her at the park, and she had gone there that day to meet him, and just like, it's all very strange. It's all very strange.
Yeah. Well, that's what kind of defeats the purpose of the RO. Is if he was in the process of having that RO, in the next 2 or 3 hours later, I think they were going to show up with that RO. Isn't it quite contradictory that he was in communication with her and said, hey, meet me at the park? She goes to the park. He never shows up. She probably got there. People wonder why she stayed there. I'm guessing she probably just went there, and it was probably a nice afternoon. And she said, well, I'm with my child. May as well stay at the park. We'll wait for a bit and enjoy the day. Then he never shows up, which is interesting to me, because why would you have that level of communication with somebody? And this is what bothers me about the child being taken away the most, is that even if there's a dispute between both of them, that child being used as almost like, I don't want to use the term,
a pawn.
Like a pawn was pawn was what I was thinking. We're basically, okay, so you mean to tell me that any person, whether they're married, just have, they have a child, that at any point can just say, you know what, I don't like my partner, I want to break up with them. In fact, I'd like to just take the kid. So I'm just going to get an RO against them, and we're just going to seize the child. And then anything else happens, then I know I'll have the child for a length of time. I'm absolutely shocked in our state. And I really think this law needs to be amended. I don't know the process for doing it. Perhaps others do. Of what to do to get this amended, where someone shouldn't have to, there shouldn't, I'll say this. If an RO needs to be served, so be it, okay? But on the same token, there should not be an absolute seizing of a child, because, it's like anything. Let's say Kelsey and him said the same day at the same time, we're going to file an RO against each other. And it's now it's just a race now against the clock. Who's going to get there first? Mm-hmm. Who's going to get it taken care of first, whatever they got to do, and who's going to get served first. And whoever gets the other one served first wins the child as a prize. That should not be the way this works. It should be a system where, there should be a level of legality where, okay, if an RO is served, fine, but that child should still be in some level of joint custody until this thing is worked out, even if he, who has filed the restraining order, has to turn the child over to his own parents or whomever to ensure that Kelsey has that child also at an equal level. There's no reason whatsoever that because he filed it first or filed it, that he gets to take the child as grounds for filing a restraining order, and then now she doesn't have an equal opportunity to contest custody, because custody of a child is not the same as a restraining order against somebody else. It's two different worlds. Mm-hmm. And it's absolutely maddening to me that this could get served. Oh, by the way, we're taking your child. And oh, by the way, there's no immediate legal rectification to have this contested where a judge can immediately see it and say, okay, we need to, this is what we're going to do with the child custody here. That never happened. And to this day, as of February 15th, 2026, this still has not happened to this day. And there's no parent that should ever not have access to their child without the legal process playing itself out to properly determine custody of the child.
Well, with similarities from the Karen Reed trial, we saw so many people trying to get ahead of things. And in my opinion, that is exactly what Justin was trying to do. What was he trying to get ahead of? Well, we have to remember that like the day or two before, Kelsey had kicked him out of the house for allegations of cheating. That would leave Justin ultimately homeless. He was living in her home. It was all Kelsey's home. So therefore, if they were splitting up like that and going to court, who do you think the judge is more likely to give fuller support or more custody to in a court? The one with the home. So why was he doing that? In my opinion, to get ahead of things and as a form of revenge, to be quite frank. How dare you do that? I'll do this. Because he knew the strings that were going to be pulled by using that type of language, trying to put fear into the court. Shame on him. Just shame on him. Disgusting human.
Well, and the fact that Kelsey didn't right away go, and make efforts toward taking the baby away from Justin. There's one parent here who hates the other parent more than he loves the child. And then there's another parent here who, regardless of what, beef or drama may be going on with the other parent, loves the child more, right? And doesn't want to take the other parent out of that child's life is what we're seeing here. So, I mean, no parent should hate the other parent more than they love their child, right?
Well, and look at the fact that even though the restraining order is in place and the bail condition is there, why won't Justin let Kelsey's parents visit with Caden? Why?
Spite.
There's
Spite.
no reason. These were people that were watching that child when Kelsey and Justin were together. They're loving grandparents. They were helping Kelsey take care of Caden. So even if Kelsey can't see Caden, Justin could 100% allow her parents to visit with him. And for him to just, just outright deny them the time with their grandchild, it's heartbreaking. It's so sad. And it's sad for him because he's missing out on having a relationship with his grandparents.
Yeah.
And let me
It
ask
only
this.
hurts the baby. That's what's
It
disgusting.
hurts the baby. It
It hurts the
definitely
baby.
does.
Yeah. Why would you keep loving and benevolent family members out of a child's life? It's just
Cruelty.
insane. And then I wanted to bring this up too. A lot of these motions for the restraining order and things like that are handwritten, and they seem to be in different handwriting. If you're looking right at them, why does it look like they are all in different handwriting? I think Justin had a lot of help from his parents with this.
I agree with you 100% on that. And then, this was talked about on Melanie Little's show a few months back, that family had a significant level of knowledge. That was the understanding, that they would know exactly how to, what moves to make and how. And this was obviously done to perfection, because as we've seen here, Kelsey's been fighting, an uphill battle, throughout all of this. And she's picking up wins. She's going to continue to pick up wins. It'll take time, but she'll get there. But what's real sickening about this is that she just hasn't seen her child throughout all of this. Has been absolutely devastating for her. And again, even if she does get, when she gets to see her child someday, the loss of time. This child was an infant, as seen by a lot of pictures online, obviously almost a year old now, but that's a lot of time to go by. And these kids, these babies grow up quickly. I mean, every week they're a little bigger, and there's a lot of development time there. That's what's sad about this. This is an absolute tragedy. It makes me sick to my stomach, quite honestly. And I just don't know how to me, it's just absolutely inhumane. Lori summarized this perfectly moments ago. The grandparents can't even see the kid. They got to go through a process to try to even see the kid, which my understanding has been extremely, almost an impossible door to walk through, per se, which is sickening. It's disgusting, and it just makes me disgusted that this is what Kelsey's had to go through. And to see her family, in interviews outside the courtroom, just kind of really at a loss, quite honestly, feeling like everything they try to do, their hands are tied. They can't get any level of civility through this. And this has been tragic. But I will say one thing. You're going to find a lot more people that support Kelsey Fitzsimmons than the other side of the parenting side of that child. That's for sure. And, I hope many of us will be here for the long haul to make sure Kelsey does get every victory all the way to the end. And I'm not talking about in legal court, but also family court, which is very tragically a long time away. I think it's July or August, if I'm not mistaken. That's pushed all the way out to.
Well, yeah, she has a review date that's coming up in, I think it's the end of this month, maybe the beginning of March. But it's okay, because it's all going to hinge on what happens with the criminal case, obviously. So and I really do think that she's going to be vindicated. And even if she's not vindicated, I mean, really what she's charged with does not really carry that great of a penalty. It's likely that she's going to probably, even if we take it to the worst possible scenario and she ends up, being, found guilty of something, it's likely she's probably going to get some kind of probation or some parole, or like a small sentence or something like that. That'd be the worst case scenario. I do think she's going to be vindicated with this. But even if that happens, I mean, I have clients, and I've represented clients on both sides of it, where they've had criminal cases going on. They've been in jail. They've had things like that happen. They still get their children. So she's going, it's just, this is what happened to her is awful. And what she's going through is awful. Justin cannot keep her from her child forever. It's just not going to happen. I've seen much worse situations like this. The courts really want to lean towards the child having both parents in their life. And Kelsey's been going for her counseling like she was told to do through the bail, and she was doing that anyway. She is going to regain some version of custody. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not like, she's going to just get custody right away, but she will have parenting time. It'll start with that. So to me, it makes so much more sense for Justin and his family court attorneys to just work with Kelsey on that, and to work with Kelsey's parents on that, rather than making it such a shock for Caden, because he is going to be seeing his mommy again, and he is going to see his grandparents again. Why wouldn't you want it to just be a seamless transition back to all of that? That's what this child needs. It's ridiculous to just prevent any of it. I get with the restraining order now and the bail conditions, but more to the point on the timing of it, you really can't look at what the dates are in the probate and family court, because the problem is right now, Julie Hess, who is her family court attorney, can't do anything because the bail conditions prevent Kelsey from having any kind of parenting time or any time with her son. Once all of that's done, once the criminal matter is done, she can file a temporary order motion based on a change in circumstances, being that her bail condition has changed. She can have her hearing on the RO. The court can modify, even if the court kept the RO in place for Kelsey to not have contact with Justin, it can be modified to allow parenting time with Caden. We do that all the time. We modify restraining orders all the time to allow that. So say the trial goes forward on March 23rd, and she's vindicated or cleared in some other way, they could get a hearing within a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it'd be good. That needs to happen. It's to me, this process has been, the criminal process in terms of that trial, whatever duration it may take, fine. But, the clock's ticking with the child growing day after day here. And that's kind of really the priority, which is why I'm happy to know you are sharing that this process could be moved up
Sure.
Which is good to know. That's reassuring. That really is, because I'd like to see, because at the very least, it's like with her under home arrest right now, like that being done as opposed to her being in jail is something you can change right now. It has a great effect on her life. The same could be said for, at the very least, joint custody of her child would at least be good, so she could at least have that time and then take this criminal charges on as they come. But the last thing you want to see is her waiting an elongated period of time here. It's already been, I mean, let's be honest with you. 1 hour, the first hour that she didn't see her child after the child was taken away was 1 hour too long, in my opinion.
And we have to remember too, like court judges that are dealing with family court, this is not the first Justin that they're going to have seen. The judge is going to be wise and know exactly the type of stuff that potentially Justin was doing to Kelsey and also her parents, and alienating, like we've had comments in the comments from this family, when there was absolutely no reason to. It wasn't in the child's best interest to stay away from his grandparents. Like, there's only one reason you do that.
Yep.
So, he should really to Lori's point, he should really think about it, because it's not making him look good.
No.
And it won't.
No.
He won't look good in front of a judge.
And it is the judge. The judge that issued the restraining order was Judge Ulwick. When you go on the restraining orders, they're obviously emergency type of motions, and he went in, and whoever was there heard that restraining order. The following day, he filed the complaint for custody support parenting time after he already had received the restraining order. And then, as you know, when they had the hearing in family court, it was with Judge Black. And from everything I read and see about her and have heard about her, she's fantastic. So, and we do have a single justice system at the probate and family court. So Judge Black will be the judge on that case, unless she's, sick or something like that, or retires. But other than that, she will be, like, you can't get it reassigned unless she had some reason that she couldn't hear it, which I think we would have already heard about. But I really like her for this case. I think she has a lot of experience and she knows what she's doing. And she will be the one that will take care of the custody and all of those issues going forward.
That's great to hear.
That makes me hopeful. Guys, I have to take care of some very, very low blood sugar. So thank you all for having me. It was great getting to talk with you. Lori, I think this is our first time being on a panel together. So it was great getting to know you a little bit. Lauren, always good to see you.
Yes, feel better. Go eat.
Oh, thanks. I will in like 3 minutes, but thank you all. And Mazza, thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Brett.
It's always great to be part of something bigger than just little me down in Florida. So and thank you to everybody who has donated. Kelsey needs all the help we can get. If you were not able to donate, please just share this stream, or share the link to Kelsey's fundraiser, and to those who have commented on my eyebrows, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye, Lauren.
Thank you.
Bye, Britt. Nice meeting you.
Bye, Britt.
Nice meeting you.
Take care. All right, we are $15 away now for 2,500. Big donation just came in for that. Thank you for the person that. Thank you to everybody, I should say. That's great news. This is awesome. We're going to wrap up soon here in a little bit. Are you guys good for the next 10 minutes or longer? What are your schedules looking like?
I can do 10 more minutes for
10
sure.
more minutes. Good for me. I do want to say while we were chatting, I went on to Mass Courts, and you'll be happy to know that Attorney Kathleen McCarthy-Nyman is still the judge on this case. I mean, just in terms of the dates. So it's just, it's ridiculous. Obviously she's not going to hear it. But to make it seem like, that crazy Attorney Bradel, like he's, just assuming that she's going to hear the case, and she is listed on every single date coming up. They haven't changed that. So I don't know why he would think that. I mean, that's just crazy. 3/9, she's listed. there's a motion hearing in case people are interested. The motion hearing scheduled for March 9th. I'm not sure what that is. Originally, when I saw that on the calendar, I thought that was going to be the motion to recuse hearing. It doesn't really say what it is.
That's the readiness, trial readiness hearing.
The 12th. Oh. That's the 12th month.
Oh, it's the 12th? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's a date on the calendar now, and that was put on when he filed that when he filed that motion to recuse, and it's on for March 9th. And it says motion hearing. And I don't know of any other motions that are pending except for that motion to recuse. So I think that one will probably come off the list. It just hasn't yet. And then March 12th, and of course she's scheduled on that one. And then March 12th is the trial readiness hearing. And then the jury trial scheduled for the 23rd, all in Salem. But she is listed, obviously we're supposed to just, we're just all supposed to magically know that she's not going to be doing it, even though she's the only judge listed there. So I don't know what that's about. And I know Attorney Bradel, when he was on that hearing, he was talking about, some discovery issues. The Commonwealth had said that they had given everything over, and he kind of was like, meh, I don't know about that. And then they had filed the certificate of compliance on the discovery, saying that everything was there. And one of the things that I found interesting, well, a couple of things. The date on that certificate of compliance is December of 2026. So the certificate of discovery compliance that was filed by the Commonwealth at the last hearing is like post dated to December 2026. I mean, obviously some kind of a typo, but even the December part doesn't make sense. Like, where is that coming from? And on that certificate of discovery, that's basically the Commonwealth saying, here, we've given you all the discovery, that you now have everything that we are required to give you. Here it is the certificate of the compliance. There's been like a bunch of notices of discovery that have been filed, and this is like the final one. Here's the certificate of compliance. And on that certificate of compliance that's dated December 2026, it has the discovery number 9 on that list. And then a couple of days ago, they provided number 9. Like, they put it in the certificate that it was already there. And then we're kind of having a little bit back and forth with Tim when he was like, well, I don't really think I have everything. And so this, the number 9 compliance discovery notice came through like a couple of days ago after the recusal motion, after all of that. And that one was dated for last week of February. It was already on the certificate of compliance. They just got it a couple of days after the hearing, and it's 90 pages. So, it's crazy. I don't know.
Oh, sorry, Laura. Yeah, Judy, we need the $15 to hit the 2,500. So, even if Lori and Lauren are leaving at 5 here, but I'm going to stay on all night if I get that $15. I want $25, 2,500 plus for her tonight. Yeah, $15 more is needed to hit the a couple of goals we've hit. Over $75,000 on the GiveSendGo we hit. Obviously, hitting 1,000 every fundraiser is one of our goals. We got over 2,000, and then from there. 2,500 was the next goal. So I'm like, if we get that goal achievable, we'll hit that. But yeah, Judy, if you can give Kelsey the $15, that would be fantastic. Or anybody else that can help out, that'd be great. This has been a successful show. I mean, this is every fundraiser is successful. Thank you so much, Judy, for that.
Thank you, Judy.
Every
Everyone's been so generous today.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. Kelsey appreciates it. Her family appreciates it.
Huge. It's just these donations are just giving her such an opportunity to just take on all our needs, which is great. I'm overwhelmed. I'm so thankful that we're able to contribute this, time to her, help her out. And, like I said, we're helping a woman that deserves a chance that unfortunately has had her life placed in a set of circumstances that she didn't have any choice in. Nobody, she didn't decide that she wanted an RO served that day or baby taken away. Like she's claimed she put a firearm to her own head. She didn't ask to be shot for it. That's the tragic part about all of this is everything. And then again, going back to jail just for simply I mean, going back to court saying, hey, I can do the test, but I'm struggling, and a judge just to say, hey, off with your head, you're going back to jail. That's not how our society should be. This is a woman that's been an active duty police officer in the town where this happened. And it's just, to me, just extremely, I think Lori said it best earlier in the show too. Even if nothing ever happens to this judge in terms of penalty, punishment, whatever, if the one thing that we do see happen to all of this is that this judge is removed from this trial, that's an absolute victory of it in itself.
100%.
Yeah.
And the trolls online, when Tim issued that statement, it was like, how can you not see? How can you not see through it? How can you not see that the only reason why she's not on the case is because he filed that motion? I mean, you can't be that dumb.
No.
Just saying.
Like I said, I think this is just well, nobody was murdered. Obviously John O'Keefe unfortunately lost his life in that situation. Well, nobody was murdered. This situation is just tragic in its own right. You're stripping a mother of her child, and then physically the wounds that she's accrued, through all this physically, mentally, obviously. It's just, how do you, it's tough to come back from that. It's tough to endure this stuff. And ultimately, at the end of the day, your only choice is to stand and fight. But I think what matters so much is you have so many people out there that are dedicating their time. People are joining the Facebook group day in and day out. The Facebook group's obviously the ultimate indicator of growth in terms of people paying attention to this case, learning about this case, doing everything they can to spread awareness. You have people that are moderating that group, posting links, everything. North Shore Nacho night tomorrow night, 6:00. JJ Grimsby and Stoneham, they're doing what they can tomorrow night. They have an event. They're doing an event where donations that night are donated to Kelsey Fitzsimmons, which is fantastic. We had a popcorn store recently run for her, which is great news. Still refreshing the GiveSendGo too. I know Judy's working on the $15 donation, but we're waiting on that. As we
I think we need a little more British accent there, Mazza. Maybe that'll.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll bring it in.
Yeah, North Shore Nachos are doing amazing things over there, just raising incredible amounts of money for Kelsey, for other things. I mean, just awesome. They are amazing. So if you're anywhere near and can support them, go to JJ Grimsby's on Mondays. And
to this question here, I would not reach out to Kelsey. This would be something that would not be best, as she's standing trial. And as of this time, as a result of this, it would be in her best interest that, for example, even when she's at a press conference outside of court, what you'll observe, she might say a few words or two that are more than obviously pre-approved by her defense team. So she can't really speak much publicly at this time. I mean, I would love to have her, but I would not dare ask, obviously, given the set of circumstances she's in. Being on a show like this would not be, her best interest at this time. Maybe afterwards we can try to make something like that happen. But right now, she's got to do what she has to do this. And that's where we all come in, where we all just do our part to help her and be voices in the public. As we get the donation, we're over. Good donation here coming in, and this is going to be a pretty sizable one. That gets Kelsey to 2505. Let me just double check the data there. And 2505. All right, we got over the $2,500 mark. Yay. Thank you, Judy, so much for that, everyone. Judy, for touching up the total for us. That's great. Thank you so much for fixing that up for us and just getting us over that part.
Quickly to Kathy's point, I just want everyone to know, everyone in the chat, that Kelsey does watch these fundraisers. She may even be here tonight. I don't know if anybody posted that, but I do communicate with her parents, Lauren and Will, and they are so grateful. Kelsey's so grateful that she does watch this stuff. She can't even believe all the support she's getting. She's blown away by it. So thank you so much, everyone who's supported Kelsey and donated, and she does see you.
And Lori, you're an attorney, and I just thank you so much today for joining this program. Just
My
offering.
pleasure.
Thank you. No, thank you seriously. And just your level of knowledge and expertise is huge. But you know a lot about this case, and I'm thrilled to have you here. As always, expect me to be reaching out to you again. Like, are you free for the next fundraiser? Are you free?
I'm here. Whenever it is, I am.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And let's see, what we're looking at for about 2 weeks out. So maybe early March will be the next one. March 1st, maybe. For whatever is 14 days from today, that will be the next one. And I'll be reaching out to you about that. Lauren, you and I have been on a lot of fundraisers together. And, I know in your mind, you're already thinking, when's the next day for yours? I know we're working on that one. So I'll leave you.
Yeah,
wait for you
I
for an
just got
update.
back in town, so I need to sit down and look at the calendar, but definitely expect one to be on the books here in a few days, and and we'll try to rotate them so we're getting as much out there for Kelsey and coming in for her defense fund as possible.
That'd be perfect. I think Friday the 27th, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that one.
I'm going to try to do it on Sunday.
Okay.
I know I had reached out to a few people and Fridays were an issue for them. So my next one I will try to do on a Sunday as well.
On a Sunday. Okay, that'd be perfect. And then my next one will probably be the 1st of March. So maybe yours will be probably the 22nd, probably projected wise. Okay, perfect. All right, that works. And we'll get at least 2 more in, before the we might even do maybe another spontaneous one right before the trial. Actually, the trial is not going to be the end of month. So, Lori, I had one more question for you.
Sure, yeah.
Do you think with the new judge coming in do you think that the trial date would be pushed back?
No, I don't think it would need to be.
Okay.
It's not that complicated of a case, really.
Yeah.
So a judge shouldn't be that involved in it. A judge should be hearing it at the trial and making rules on evidence and things like that. That's their role. So the fact that a new judge is coming into it shouldn't really affect anything. Somebody should come in with not a preconceived notion of any of it, really.
Perfect. That was one thing I was wondering. That's a great answer. Lori, thank you so much. And looks like for my next fundraiser that I do, we're $1,200 away from hitting $25,000. So my goal will be $25,000 over 12 fundraisers. We'll save that goal for the next one because that's going to be tough.
Amazing, Mazza.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody. I got to go feed the dog.
Bye,
Lori.
Yeah. Bye, Lori. All right. So attorney Lori Mullen, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow her on Twitter. Great attorney and fantastic. And then Lauren, private investigator here. Just some final thoughts before we close up the show.
No, I'm happy that it's getting close for Kelsey to be able to tell her story. I know that's something that's been very hard for her not to tell. And so we're getting close. And I think with that, justice is going to happen and she'll walk out of that courtroom with everything gone. I really do think that. And then, of course, she'll be one step closer to getting Caden back in her arms and be done with at least this part of the mess, and then can proceed on all the other, parental things, which will all fall into place. But this will be over soon for her. And, anything that we can do in the meantime, we are happy to do and happy to always join you, Mazza.
Thank you.
And thank you again for always having me. And thank you to everyone who's donated.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's perfect words. And then the trial is March 23rd. That's the projected date based on my understanding. Perfect. All right. Well, Lauren, again, hey, thank you so much. We will be in touch and we'll get the next one organized on your channel. We'll just keep kind of alternating. That will be the plan of attack for raising funds, and it's working. We're doing a great job, and we'll continue to do our best. Lauren, have a great weekend. Watch some Olympics tonight.
Yes, I'm going to go live on my channel for anyone who wants to hear about the Edward Cost thing in Atlanta after Mazza's done. So,
and your channel is Common Sense Investigator?
Yes, Common Sense Investigator. Thank you so much. Bye, Mazza.
Take care, Lauren. All right, fantastic. All right, we'll continue the her. Okay, great. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it. What a successful show once again. I'm very thankful for everybody that tuned in today. This is the part of the stream where I be like, please subscribe and like my video. So yes, please subscribe to the channel. Please, like I always say at every video, like you always got to make sure to tell your people who are watching our show, please like and subscribe to this channel if you like what you're seeing. But yeah, if you have notifications, that'll alert you to the next Kelsey Fitzsimmons fundraiser a few days in advance as well. as I usually schedule the videos. So yes, please like and subscribe. And I think we'll end the show with some microdots impersonations here. I see the United States hockey team's up 4-0 on Germany right now in the third period of the Olympics. All right, let's do some microdots impersonations. I'll get a drink of water. We'll do some comedy. And please like and subscribe. Thank you so much. All right, let's do some microdots impersonations. Thank you, Jordan Breezy, for subbing. All right, here we go. And then something amazing happened where he walked to the door. And when he walked to the door, something funnier than that. Okay. And then, of course, Lucky Loughran, who was plowing on Fairview Road that evening. And then he noticed something. I don't know. This impression, I may have running out of juice here. I don't got the comedy going. I don't got the comedy. I had the comedy going earlier, but now it's like oh, my brain's kind of like, oh, I can't do the improvisational right now. Oh my goodness, I'm struggling. And it must be time to eat again. That's probably what it is. 3 hours of a show does a lot to you. Like, and then of course he was hungry, and of course MazzaMedia was very hungry at the end of his show, and he needed something to eat, and he knew that he was doing a lesser than capable job as he got hungrier and hungrier, as his brain power started to wane down. No, those videos are always hilarious, microdots. It's funny when microdots, the AI bot gets a little angry and he's talking. But of course, that wasn't what really happened, was it? Oh my goodness, that's funny. All right, then let's take a look here. GiveSendGo 76,311 right now, and we're at 2505. I'll double check this in a few minutes to see if we gain any other stuff. And we should be good to go, ladies and gentlemen. So from MazzaMedia, I am Mark. Please subscribe and like, of course. We're going to do the little like and subscribe thing. Thank you guys for donating. I can't thank you guys. Cannot thank you guys enough. 11 fundraisers, almost $24,000 raised, over 11 of them. So when I do the next one, we'll be pushing for $25,000 total between all 12. That'd be awesome if we can hit that. And I'll be back with more guests. I hope you guys like Lori Mullen, second time on this show for her. And Lauren Katie, Britt Happens, Broken Baker, thankful for him as well. I think I named all 4 guests today. And then we'll be back 2 weeks from today with the next fundraiser. And then I'm not sure if maybe I'll pop in and do a show tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe a surprise show tomorrow might happen. Thank you, Timely Manner. Well, you subscribed in a timely manner, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, well, I'm going to go get ready for dinner. This hockey game is obviously already in the bag. They're up 4-0, unless, of course, they intend on blowing the game here. Team USA was up 4-0 against Germany. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for MazzaMedia. I'm Mark. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. If you have President's Day off, enjoy that day. Take care of yourselves, folks. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.